BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Welcome everybody, we are back for action here in the 100% League, and I need to get myself sorted, my webcam on and everything like that. There we are. Oh blimey, been a lovely long day already, and I have got another long session in front of me then with the 100% League then coming back to our screens here in Japan. Of course, a preview of, well, 2 weeks time really, or 1.5 weeks time. Then we have no racing on the Easter weekend, but we have got racing then in Japan in the Sunday afterwards, I suppose you could say. But there we go, then we are ready to get started here. Unfortunately, we've got somebody dropped out then. I think it was Moomin Ninja in the Aston Martin. Hopefully we'll be back soon and we can get ourselves started then. We've got a nice sunny sunshine raining down. Not sunshine raining down really, is it? It's sunshine on the screens in Japan, in Suzuka of course then, as we've got ourselves lined up then for 17 minutes of qualifying, or 17.5 minutes left now of qualifying. As hoping for pole, says Kiki in the Mercedes. So that is that then. Right, we've got Kiki then, of course, he is on a charge then. We've had we had a difficult race then in Australia last week. Then we had a winner then of Ekpaz, the first time winner then in the 100% League then last week. and that was Equaz then, who has cemented his place now in the top 3 of the standings as well. Then with that win, he is now up into P2 of the standings with that victory as well in Australia last week as well. So it's looking strong indeed then for the Alfa Romeo of Equaz. Gordo, of course, holds on to the championship lead then as well, then with that podium place in Australia. And Lucas Percy then, who unfortunately isn't making it tonight because he's had I don't know what he's had. He's had some sort of issue with his ceiling leaking water, and then there's problems with his electrics as well. So hopefully that can get sorted. But he is not racing tonight then. And unfortunately for Kaz, he's been taking his seat then in the AlphaTauri then. So unfortunately for Kaz then, he's going to be struggling in that AlphaTauri here tonight then. But he is up for the challenge then, which is great to see then. And thank you very much for Kaz for jumping in as well last minute. So good stuff indeed. Hopefully he can have a good race as well then. Gina is on an outlap, then he's on medium compound tyres. We've got somebody else ahead of him, though. It's New Zealand Cam on soft compound tyres, of course, and the newest member of the 100% league, then replacing Gurman, who has had to drop out then with his wheel issues. So he has dropped out of the lobby, then out of the rest of the season, that is, with only 5 races left here of the season, including this one as well. Evening from Vintage. I can't say that before 9 p.m. But thank you very much, Vintage. That's very kind of you indeed, and very definitely incorrect as well. But we will take it. But there we go. Then New Zealand Cam then is going to set ourselves on our way, I should say. The first lap here in Angra around at the Suzuka circuit, then the Suzuka International Circuit, to say the real name of the racetrack that is, and. Yeah, if you can't tell, then I'm all over the place because I've only just got back in really. I've had a bit of dinner and I've got myself into the lobby to start this commentary. And unfortunately for your ears and your eyes, I'm here. But there we go. The New Zealand Cam then is, of course, like I said, the newest member to the grid, and we've got only 5 races left of the season, and he's already scored some points then as a reserve. So we'll tally him up then and put him into the standing then after this race here as well. Then so here he goes then into Sector 2 now. Of course, going purple in Sector 1. Then of course he's the first driver to set a time in Sector 1. So that makes it make sense. There we are into Sector 2. Then, like I said, it's a very technical Sector 2, this one, and a very nasty hairpin as well. Then as we negotiate that hairpin now in the AlphaTauri then for the new AlphaTauri driver as well. Then evening from Vintage as well. The good evening to yourself, sir. Of course, Vintage is our star stream supporter, I suppose you could say. So evening to Vintage then, and hope your day is going well for everybody in the comment section and everybody who is on track as well. Then that is most important. Then hopefully their day is going well. Hopefully the day goes even better as well. Then as we take to the track, 53 laps, I believe, around this circuit. Then I think it's only 27 then in 50%. Then, so 53 makes a bit of sense. Purple, of course, in Sector 2. Then let's see what the first time on the board is going to be then from the AlphaTauri then at his home race, or the car's home race, sort of, as we go through into the final couple of corners and to cross the line then, and it's a 28-1 to set us on our way. As here comes Jenner, then Jenner is in the Mercedes, of course, going to be a bit faster than he's done 28.4 on the medium compound tyres, and that is pretty good stuff indeed. Then Sick as Muck coming through towards 130R. Let's see who's going to be next across the line. It's not Geeky. Where is Vessi? Vessi's unfortunately validated his time. Justify is reserving tonight in the Ferrari. Let's see what he can do as well then. We'll come back to... No, we'll come back to Kydell. Here comes Kydell, then up to the line at 28.8 then for the Alpine driver. The Sick as Muck is going to be next to go through the Casio triangle. And no, he's not. He's Kamara Racer, but it's here comes Sick as Muck now up to P5, then the 29.1, sorry, for the Aston Martin. 28.3 then for Kamara Racer then. As Kiki, though, he did say he was going to be looking for pole position. Then he's done a 27.9, then what's that? 0.2 of a second faster than New Zealand Cam as it stands as well then. Great stuff indeed. As the Mercedes driver looking strong here in the first outing of qualifying. We've had Justified jump up the order then into a 28.8 then for the Ferrari reserve. Then good stuff in Coupe then with 29.3 puts himself P8. And R2B then in the Haas. What can the Haas driver do? At 29.4 then for R2B on his first attempt here in qualifying. That is the first 9 times set on the board. Then 27.9, sorry, is the fastest time as we stand, that is. Of course, there is still a few drivers to set a time and a few drivers that can improve as well on their time, so we'll have to wait and see what they can do. Gordo, the championship leader, then starting off his lap. We'll come back to him because I think we've got no, we haven't got more action. We'll come back to the championship leader, then we'll watch on board with the championship leader then as we go through down towards turn 1. And then negotiating it as quickly as possible then, but of course that inside curve can throw you off very violently if you get it wrong, but he hasn't got it wrong, which is good stuff indeed. Now through the very famous S's then of Sector 1. This is where it gets a bit more technical as well. This circuit is very technical indeed, actually. One, like I said, Australia was underestimated by some as a very difficult circuit, as we saw quite a lot of DNF, didn't we, with people just falling foul to the nature of the track then. And I think it was turn 5, especially last week, that was costly indeed. Will we see some more incidents here in Sector 1 and 2 of the Suzuka circuit? I think it might be catching people out. Then we'll have to wait and see how the race unfolds. Gordo then trying to put the power down a bit too early then on the exit of the hairpin, and losing the back end very slightly there as well. Then let's see how he's going to fare then in the rest of the lap then. Good, all good, says Vintage, and had a rare day off. Blimey, that's good. I wish I could have a day off, but I can't. Yeah, there we go. Well, hopefully I'll have a nice 4-day weekend then coming up after tomorrow, so that'll be something for me to look forward to. I will be asleep for the 4 days, I think, and then I've got to go back to work. So there we go. Into 130R flies the McLaren then, of course, the championship leader. Let's see what he can do then. Can he get himself on pole position? Can he cement his place in the championship then, and try and get himself even further up the order? We haven't seen a great qualifying from Gordo then throughout the season. Let's see what he can do now at 28.9 then for the McLaren then as he crosses the line, P7. But of course we haven't seen a great qualifying in any race, to be fair, from Gordo then, but he's had a fantastic, consistent and clean season as well then, and that has cemented his place in the top of the standings. And that is that is how 100% racing goes, really. Making sure you get to the finish line is the paramount importance. Here comes Equaz then, of course, got to the finish line in first place in Australia last week. Let's see what he can do here. Up into P7 then, displaces the championship leader of Gordo down to P8, then a 28.8 then for Equaz into P7 as it stands. Good stuff indeed. Here comes the Williams of Jay Hinks. He's sparking down into 130R then. Fantastic stuff indeed then. No DRS, of course, available there as Farfus got himself up into P9 with the 28.9 in the other Haas car. Here comes the Williams of Jay Hinks then, of course, he got a formidable podium then in the AlphaTauri of all cars last week in Australia. Then let's see what he can do here tonight then in the Williams then. 29.3 just behind his teammate of Coupe then in P11. So that is a very good pairing indeed for the Williams drivers. Vessia is back out on track now. He's starting off another lap. Yellow flagged on the circuit, I think, for cars coming back around turn 1 on their in laps. Hopefully that is the case anyway. Liam is starting off a lap as well. He's going to negotiate all those Alpines, those Mercedes and those AlphaTauris though, so hopefully they'll get out of the way for him. Here comes Vessia now into Sector 2. He's into Dunlop corner now as well, then flying through then very quickly indeed. I think we're not quite sure why it's not showing the purples and whatnot on the sectors, but there we go. Into the hairpin we fly now for the McLaren then. Of course, he's trying to rival his teammate then of Gordo, who's had a fantastic season, like I keep saying that, but Vessia then has had a strong season as well in the other McLaren. Can he keep hold of that form, then hold of that pace? Then he's got a very nice red helmet then, which clashes horribly with the McLaren orange, I have to say indeed. Not that I need to worry about that too much, but there we go. As we go down towards or up the hill then along the straight then, as a oh my goodness me, that was a hassle. They're going very slowly, and it seemed like Vessia was going to go into the back of it there, but he's thankfully got through that, through into the Casio triangle then for the final couple of corners then of his first lap here in Japan. And let's see what the McLaren driver can do then up to the line then for the second driver, or second driver as it stands, but not second driver then in the timing sheets. Then he's up into P5 with a 28.498, puts himself in the range then of Ginner as well, then Kamara Racer in P3. So it's not all doom and gloom then. Good stuff indeed then from Vessia. Then Gordo is back out on track, and I think Gordo is pushing again then for another lap here on the same set of tyres then, so they'll have to wait and see what he can do. Liam up into P11 with 28.9 in the Alfa Romeo. Then Cooper's back out on circuit, so is Jay Hings then going again, and I think it's Jay Hings as we fly through. RGB about to start off another lap as well. Then we'll come back to, as Liam has just parked off the circuit, then trying to get himself out of the way then of who was that? I can't see who it was, to be fair, but I think he's just getting out of the way of the traffic coming through then, or not traffic really, because they're quite fast. They're quite fast out there at the moment. So good stuff indeed. Evening all from Serious Mushroom then, and good luck to all as well. Then of course Serious Mushroom is in the Ferrari, as Gino has got himself a 27.7, then puts himself in front of his teammate, then onto the front row of the grid then with car number 3. Fantastic stuff indeed. He's off the circuit though. I think what's he doing there? Hopefully he gets himself out of the way then of the cars that are coming through. Then Kiki then is back out on a lap, then so is Kamara Racer. We've got all sorts of action then on track as well. Vessi I think coming back to the pit lane as Gordo has improved then to a 28.2 then up into P4 now for Gordo. Fantastic stuff indeed and really improved himself, really improved his time on his first run as well then, I think by almost 7/10 of a second there as well. It was a 28.9 previously then for the McLaren driver, now up into P4 and looking strong. Vintage off on a lap as well, then we'll come back to him. We've got more action crossing the line very shortly. Here comes Coop then through the Casio triangle then on his second attempt here in qualifying. Let's see what the Williams driver can do then up to the line then. It is... He has improved, but he stays P13 then, as Jay Hings unfortunately has invalidated his time. He's going to be coming back to the pit lane, I think. No, he's not. He's carrying on then, as Jay Hings then back into another lap then, or another in lap, I should say. Then Kaido up into P6 then has improved to 28.4. Puts himself right behind his teammate of Kamara Racer. He's back in the pit lane. Then he's down to P5 as it stands. Justifies and validated his time then going through the spoon corner, and unfortunately he will be coming back to the pit lane, I think, unless he wants to refuel, or not refuel, sorry, has enough fuel and has enough ERS then to carry on. Then here comes Sickers Muck and validating over the Casio triangle as well. Then R2B is back out on circuit, then starting off another lap. Or is he starting off another lap? I think he's finished his lap. Actually, he's up into P13 ahead of both the Williams pair as it stands. And here comes Vintage then flying through 130 yard down towards the Casio triangle. Let's see what the Red Bull driver can do here in his first attempt of qualifying. 6 minutes left of the session here. The Red Bull up to P15, then splits the two Williams, then 29.2 then for Vintage. Good stuff indeed. Then unfortunately for Hungry Styles, Serious Mushroom and Kaz, they haven't got themselves out of the pit lane just yet. So that is not good news for them. But hopefully they can get themselves sorted in the next 6 minutes, as Kiki is back up into pole position. I completely missed it as well then, but back up into pole position then from the other Mercedes driver. Both the Mercedes then are battling away for pole position as it stands. New Zealand Cam has had an issue, and he's had a problem then at the top of the hill then into, I think that's the where's that? That's the top of the hill at Dunlop then, isn't it? So unfortunately for the AlphaTauri driver in P3 currently, then he's had to abandon his time here. I think it looks like the wing is intact then, so I'm not quite sure if there was just a spin then that he saved and stopped it going into the wall then, thankfully for the AlphaTauri team. Otherwise they would have to pay for a new front wing on that AlphaTauri as well then, but thankfully that's not the case, and he can soldier back on then. Vintage is coming back on an in lap. I think everyone's calmed down a bit out there now as they've decided to wait then for the last few minutes then of the qualifying session. Then yellow flags out there for New Zealand Cam then. I think there's the sister teams then of the AlphaTauri then and the Red Bulls then having a bit of a battle out there on the in laps then as well, as we go through into the final sector then. But these two I think are coming back into the pits then. Kamara Racer is back out on circuit. He's on an outlap now in the Alpine, looking to improve on P5 as it stands. Evening from Styles in the comment section. Good evening to ALR Goku, who is Hungry Styles if you didn't know. He's in the pit lane and he is in the Red Bull, and he is not out of the pits at all then, yes, so far in this session, and hopefully he's just waiting for the last minute, and we will wait and see then. Unfortunately for the Red Bull team, then it seems like one Red Bull is not too keen on getting himself out of the pit lane, and unfortunately for Vintage, he's down in P15 as it stands there, but it's still time for Vintage to go back out and go again. And Mushroom, please be careful, says Styles in the comment section. So there we go then. I think you need to watch out for Swan Shanks then, Styles, not Serious Mushroom then, but there we go. So into the final couple of corners. If you didn't watch Bronze last night, then you should have done. There we are. That's all I'll say. But Kamara Racer then, and Kamara Racer is back out on track then, back out on a lap as well as we fly down into turn 1 and 2. Bit of a, well, not really a difference in turns 1 and 2. That's pretty much just a flowing corner then as you fly the car in and hope that it sticks. And so far so good then for Kamara Racer then through the S's section, going on the grass a bit then as well. I think unsettling the Alpine car as we go through into the final part of Sector 1. Up the hill we go now as well, climbing up the hill as quickly as possible then. And thankfully for Kamara Racer, that's he's not had a spin in this sector like New Zealand Cam did as well in the previous lap into Sector 2. Now under the bridge we go then, of course, the famous figure of 8 circuit. That is the 130R bridge basically. You go underneath the circuit, then you go back over the top of it. So there you are. If you hadn't noticed that already, then unfortunately that is your history lesson then from the commentary for them from the Japanese Grand Prix. Right then, Kamara Racer then, let's see what he can do. Can he improve? He wasn't up on his time in Sector 1, but can he find the time then in Sector 2 and 3? Flying round the spoon curve now as we go. I think we've started harvesting some ERS then for Kamara Racer, so he's abandoned his time already, unfortunately then for the Alpine. Sick as Muck is on a lap as well, then coming up to the spoon curve as well. Then let's see what the Aston Martin can do down in P12 as it stands. It's starting to get a bit gloomy over the track then, a bit more rain, maybe some rain might be coming in, then we'll have to wait and see. No forecast just yet. delighted with the lap then, says Gordo, considering it was my second lap on those tyres as well then. So Gordo's used one set of tyres then to get himself up into P4 so far. Looking good then for the championship leader then as it stands on the second row of the grid. Here comes Sick as Muck then. Can he improve on a 29.156? We will see as he crosses the line now then into the 28s, then 28.9 for the Aston Martin, up into P10, up into the top 10 as it stands as well then. Good stuff from Sick as Muck then. Kamara Racer, sorry, is back out on track and he is on another lap, I think. Is he? Yes, he is. There, we'll come back to him because Jinner then is coming through down the back straight then towards 130R for the final time, I would imagine. We'll have to wait and see, but here he comes then flying down the straight. That car seems to be a bit twitchy then as we go down the straight, so maybe the Mercedes then is trying to marry up to real life in that sense as well then as we go through the Casio Triangle. I think this is the final time then for Jinner. Let's see what he can do. Can he improve then? Can he get himself ahead of his teammate then for pole position then into the final turn? Then it is pole position with a 27.3 and takes away that pole position from his teammate as well then. Great lap indeed then from Jinner then, and a massive improvement on his previous time as well then, up into P1 then. Can he stay P1 is the question. We will find out in the next minute or two. But at the moment it is looking strong then for the Mercedes pair then. Here we go then, Kamara Racer then through the spoon curve. This time he is on the beans, and he has not backed off on this lap at all then. So here he comes then up to the back straight then on to 130R as we fly through then in the Alpine, and foot to the floor then. No lifting off there at all then, as we once again, I think he's harvesting ERS though, so I'm not quite sure he's not got that ERS button switched on though in the Alpine. Maybe he knows something that we don't, but he's coming back to the pit and he's abandoned his time. He's not really starting any higher than P5 as we've got, I think Kaido was coming through then. I think those cars behind him are just traffic getting out of the way, thankfully, as Kaido then into the Casio Triangle then for the final time. Then 45 seconds remain on the clock then here in qualifying. Let's see what the Alpine can do. Can he get himself past his teammate? Yes, he can. A 28.2 then for Kaido, puts himself P5 as it stands as well. Vessia then starting off another lap as well. Kaido hopefully can get out of the way before those cars catch up to him as well. Jay Hing starting off another lap, Vintage on another lap, so is Coop, and we've got Favre just starting another lap. There's all sorts of action down here. What's going on here? There's all sorts of action down here. There's so many cars going into turn one almost side by side, it looks like, as there's a McLaren off the circuit then. I think that's Vessia then trying to get out of the way of all these cars that are flying through then, but they have not planned this very well, have they? Because there's so many cars in such a tight vicinity. There's an Alpine off the circuit there, and I think that is no, it's not, it's Kaido then. So Kaido and Vessia, I think, have finished their laps, or so I think it's Vessia then. Yes, it is off the circuit then for Vessia, then trying to get himself back on, but unfortunately I think he invalidated, which is why he's pulled off the circuit as well. Kaido is doing a bit of lawn mowing as it stands, so that is interesting stuff indeed. So there we go then. Vintage is back in the pit lane. He's called it a day then. He's not been able to improve on a 29.2, stays P15 as it stands. Then Jay Hings unfortunately has invalidated his time as well. Then he's going to be down in P16 as it stands, unless Kaz can knock him down to P17 then with a better time than 29.3. We'll come back to all that then, because we've got who we got next across the line. I think we've got a Williams car that is Coop then, who is improved. No, he hasn't. He's finished then P13. Then he stays on a 29.0 then for the Williams car then. The other Williams car of Jay Hings then coming back to the pit lane, unfortunately I think is done and dusted here in qualifying. Who is next across the line? That's a Ferrari of Justify then, invalidating his time in P8 as it stands as well then. That is him done and dusted here in qualifying 2, as not qualifying 2, qualifying 1, but the only qualifying I should say. Then R2B then is improving on his time. Is he? Yes, he is. Up to the line then. It's a 29.1 then for R2B. Then he stays P14 in the background. There's all sorts of action. Then there's an Alfa Romeo then in the background then of Equaz, I think that was, as across the line then for Mercedes as well then. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there. Kiki then has not improved then. He stays P2. Jinner is on pole position as it stands. What is going on in the background there? I can't even see what's going on there. As here comes Kaido, I think, to finish off the session. I think I'm just going to have to wrap it up there and look at the classification of who got what in the end there. But yeah, that Alfa Romeo is causing a bit of havoc. Right then, 3 tenths up, says Gordon then, but he stays P4 in the end. Then Gino takes pole position then with the Mercedes for the Mercedes. Then great lap time indeed then on his second attempt. Then Kiki then P2, both the Mercedes locking out the front row. AlphaTauri of New Zealand Camden on his first full-time appearance then is in P3. Gordo in P4, Kaidel P5, Kamara in P6, Vessia P7, Liam Yan P8, then Justified down to P9 after a good qualifying from the Ferrari driver. Then Equaz P10 and rounds off the top 10 as well. Then Sick as Muck P11, then Favre in P12, Coop P13, R2 beat P14, Vintage in P15, Jay Hings in 16th, Kaz in P17. Unfortunately for Styles and Mushroom didn't get a time on the board then, and unfortunately for Moomin as well, then he wasn't able to get himself into the comments, into the session, I should say, into the comments. Vintage has put a nice gifted ALR membership then into the comment section. Speaking of memberships and comment sections, so thank you very much then to Vintage.
BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Welcome back then. If you haven't signed up to BoxBox just yet, then of course, what are you waiting for? Then the season is already underway then in real life, that is. We're on to round 4 in real life, that is, as well. So we have got, get tuned into BoxBox, then get yourself some nice widgets, some nice standings, updates and that sort of thing on your home screen, as well as staying up to date with live action updates from the races as well if you're out and about. But I don't presume many people are going to be out and about then during last week in the Australian Grand Prix at 4 AM and the Japanese Grand Prix, which is coming up then in just over a week and a half's time at 6 AM. So yeah, if you're out and about during those times, I don't know what's going on with your life, but there you go. So here we are. Yeah, of course, check out BoxBox then, our sponsor then for ALR Season 10. And of course, if you've got any pennies left over, then feel free to throw them at the ALR shop then to get yourself some nice hoodies and t-shirts and boxer shorts as well, which I'm wearing right now, but I can't show you because it's a PG rated stream. So there we go. We've got a combination then of soft compound tyres, hard compound tyres and medium compound tyres then for the grid, then soft compound tyres for the pole sitter then of Jinnah, then into in the Mercedes, that is Kiki, his teammate, on the hard compound. That is going to be very interesting indeed then for the second Mercedes on the grid, that is. Medium compound tyres then for P3 of New Zealand Cam all the way down to Vettel, and P7 then softs for Liam Yeh and Justify, P8 and P9 then softs as well for R2 Beat in the Haas, P14, and hard compound tyres for Jay Hings. Everybody else on the medium compound to start off this Grand Prix. Dynamo Dan has collected the membership then from Vintage, then the gifted membership in the comment section. So thank you very much to Vintage then, and thank you very much for joining us, Dynamo Dan, as well then. So good stuff indeed. We will get ourselves lined up and ready for the start of the race very shortly indeed as well. Yeah, just wait for the drivers then to complete the formation lap before we get ourselves started and underway. As unfortunately, like I said, Moomin has not been able to get himself back in the car, which is a bit of a shame. That is that then. Onto the grid we go then, as looks like there's a bit of action going on between New Zealand Cam then. Maybe that car is just trying to get his tyres warmed up, but he's all over the place as well there. So goodness me. Hopefully we get a nice camera angle then of the start. Usually we don't, but hopefully this time we do. As we get ourselves lined up then for the start of the 53 laps then of the Japanese Grand Prix. Right then, here we go. The 5 red lights are coming on here in Suzuka. Sorry, my nose is itchy. 5 red lights are on in Japan, and away we go then for the Japanese Grand Prix at the 100% League. And a great start indeed for the Mercedes of Jinnah then on the soft compound tyres. Not so good for Kiki on the hards as we go into turn 1 side by side with the AlphaTauri of New Zealand Cam. Then through into P2 goes New Zealand Cam. Kiki dropping down the order then with those hard compound tyres not phasing in as quickly as those around him as well. Then Gordo with a good start up into P3, up into the podium places then for the championship leader as well. Then New Zealand Cam then up into P2, then getting past Kiki, who has struggled on the start on those hard compounds. as we get ourselves away then down 2 places then for the P2 sitter as we start off this race. Justifies gain a place then on Liam Yeh into the first sector as well then in the Ferrari. Good stuff indeed. Liam Yeh dropping down 1 place to P9 then, but can he keep up with the rest of the field? Yes, he can so far anyway, as we go through into, oh blimey, what's going on there with an Aston Martin? There's an Aston Martin off the circuit. I think it's sick as muck then, trying to get himself, oh, where was he? Trying to get himself back on the circuit, and he has done. And there's all sorts of action there between, what's that? Oh my goodness. There's Liam Yeh and Justify then off the circuit as we go into what is going on here. Between the Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo, then there is all sorts of action then on the soft compound tyres through the hairpin, and Liam Yeh and Justify then mixing up through the hairpin as well then, and they've cost themselves a lot of places there as well then on the soft compound tyres nonetheless as well. Into P6 goes Vessia past Kamara Racer then, dropping down into P7 now for the Alpines. Both the Alpines and the McLarens in a battle here for some big points. It looks like so far off the start, that is, it's only lap 1 as we got ourselves through the Casio Triangle for the first time then onto lap 2. And Gino, of course, leads the way on the soft compound tyres. New Zealand Cam then is 1.3 seconds behind then. Of course, Gino is on the soft compound, so they'll be very quick indeed. Here comes an Aston Martin. No, it's not. What's going on in the background then? It's, yes, it is an Aston Martin then of Sick as Muck then getting himself past Favre. And there's all sorts of action with the 2 Hasses as well. They're involved. And R2B trying to get himself past his teammate, I think, as well into turn 2 and 3. Not quite then for the Haas pair. They have to sit behind then through the SS section. Not very opportune overtaking place through here. You would have to say so yourself anyway. The Deltas are a bit mixed up at the moment. They're not completely correct. They're not 1 minute 33 seconds behind. He's only a few tenths behind, but we will have to wait and put the funnels across the finish line to rectify that issue. Yeah, not that much further behind than the rest of the field. Then they are only a few tenths behind. But once they cross the timing line of the start-finish line, that is, at the end of lap 2, then that will be sorted out hopefully. Farf and Sick as Muck then through the hairpin then, and it's side by side for the Aston Martin and the Haas pair as we go through. Then Sick as Muck retains the place then. Liam Yeh and Jay Hings, I should say, then battling away on the soft compound tyres then, as Jay Hings on the hard compound is going to be struggling again compared to those on the soft as well around him into Spoon Curve then, and Jay Hings has lost out to Justify as well then. Ferrari driver then through into P14, trying to regain those places that him and Liam lost then on the opening lap then. Flying through now into 130R. Once again, here comes Farf on the back of the Haas here of Sick as Muck, and they've lost out a lot of time then to the top 8 as it stands then into the Casio Triangle. Not quite making a move then for Farf. Gino then sets the fastest lap of the race, and he is powering on there. 1.6 seconds is the gap then as the Deltas now sorting themselves out finally. Gordon out 1.1 seconds behind the New Zealand Cam in the Alpha Tower. Then Kiki putting the pressure on, keeping the pressure on then on those hard compound tyres as we go through turn 2 in the Mercedes. And Vessi then trying to keep up with the top 4 as it stands. Then Kaidel into P6. He's lost out 1 place then off the start line, but he's still in contention then as well for some good points. Same for Kamara Racer as well in the other Alpine as we get ourselves through and into lap 3 properly as well. Then Liam Yeh, and where's Liam Yeh? He's still getting himself back in the fight then as Liam Yeh on the soft compound tyres, but those softs are probably going to be very helpful then after that mishap then in the hairpin with the Ferrari, as we've had action then Farf and Sick as Muck, then Kaidel and Kamara are switching places as well. Then Kaidel dropping down to P7, then he's lost out then to Equaz as well then as we cross into sector 2. Unfortunately, didn't see what happened to the Alpine there, but I think through the first and second thickness went a bit wide then onto the gravel trap, and that cost him indeed as well. Then Sick as Muck has lost out to both the Hasses then through sector 1, and now both the Hasses into the top 10 as it stands as well. Then this is looking good indeed, as now Far trying to keep up with Kaidel then to try and apply the pressure on the Alpine driver as we go through into the Spoon Curve once again. Then 2.3 seconds is the gap then, is out in the lead. Kaz and Hungry Styles switching places then into the Spoon Curve, and round the outside goes the Alpha Tauri. Then he's got the place then on Hungry Styles as well then into the onto the back straight, I should say. Then as we've got Coop and Liam Yeh switching places as well into 130R, and the Alfa Romeo is ahead there. We go into P12 then, I completely missed it. There we are then, good stuff indeed. Sick as Muck and R2B. Where is R2B gone? He's off the circuit then. No, he's not. He's got himself back on now, but there's all sorts of action then with Liam Yeh involved as well now as we go into lap 4, and blimey, it's going to be 4 wide it looks like here as we go down towards the first turn. This is going to get complicated indeed if it carries on this way, and oh dear, there's going to be a contact. Is there? No, the Ferrari goes wide then of Justify, then trying to get himself out of the way. There's yellow flags in the background. It's Farf's off the circuit then at turn 2. And I'm not quite sure what's happened to Farf there, but he's got himself back underway, and I think that I'm not quite sure if there was contact or he just spun the car. We didn't see but we will of course see after the race potentially. But unfortunately for Faf down the back of the order now, trying to catch up. Then he is still back in the train, back in the queue, but unfortunately didn't see exactly what happened there with the spin. Sickens Monk now up into back up in P9, back ahead of both the Hasses of course now. But Liam Yeh is going to keep him company there into the top 10, back up into the top 10 as well for Liam Yeh. Only lost 2 places now after that mishap then through this quarter as well on the first lap then. But he's got himself back in contention now for some points then in the Alfa Romeo then. So far so good as we get onto the back then of the Aston Martin. Those soft compound tyres working nicely at this stage then for the Alfa Romeo. Then we'll have to switch onto the tyre choices. We won't. There we go. To see what everybody is on then. So soft compound tyres, of course, for the race leader of Junior, who's checked out in the lead then. 3.3 seconds now. 3.4 in the lead. And we've got a crash then for it's for a Williams then. So Williams of Jay Hings then through the spoon curve. He's gone off the car. Oh, and there's what's happening with Kaz as well. The Kaz has gone through past Favre under a safety car. Not sure he realised the safety car had been called out then, but the safety car has been released. And Ginner is going to be on the back of that safety car very quickly indeed. Then Vessia is in the pit lane. So Vessia, a very early stop then off the medium compound tyres, then onto a new set of tyres as well. Jay Hings is called the safety car and he's out of the race. Then Liam Yeh is in the pit lane as well on off the soft compound tyres, and potentially going to go on to another set of tyres as well. We'll have to wait and see. Serious Rush is also in the pits then. Everybody else is staying out so far. Then Kaz and Farf might come into the pit lane here and use this safety car to their advantage, but they are staying out as well. So that is that then. So they go down, trundling down the pit straight, I should say. As out of the pits comes Vesser, then P16, then Liam Yeh in P17. Where is he? That is the nice shot of the floor of the pit lane. So there you go then. So yeah, hopefully they sort that out. Yeah, there we go. Then the Alfa Romeo then back out on track. Then P17 now for Liam Yeh and P18 for Serious Mushroom. So that is that. Then safety cars being released then on lap 4, the end of lap 4, beginning of lap 5 now. As we crack on, then Itchy said, how comes Mushroom is at the back? Says Itchy, well, I don't know if you're new to ALR racing, but that's where he usually starts. So there we go. To be fair, he's into P4 in the standings, and so he's not done too badly then in the races. So my controller says keeps randomly moving to the right, says Gordo. So yeah, that sounds like some sort of issue then for Gordo as well. So fingers crossed that is not going to be hampering his race then for the rest of the what is that, 48 laps we've got to go. So yeah, that'll be quite a long race indeed. But so far he's up into P4 then. We'll have a look at the position changes then whilst we've got some time under the safety car. So 1 place gain then for New Zealand Cam and Gordo then up into the podium places. Then Kiki dropping down after that start on the hard compound tyres. He stayed out of course on those hards. Kamara up one place now as well then. He has gained a place then after that start as well. Then he did lose a few places off the start, but he's got himself back in contention as well now. Equaz up 4 places then from P10 to P6 already then in the Alfa Romeo. Then of course he's into P2 in the standings after that win in Australia last week. And now looking strong here in Suzuka as well then. Kaido unfortunately losing out 2 places. Sick as Muck up 3 places and into the top 10. R2 Beat has gained 5 places and up into the top 10 as well. And same for Coop. He's up 3 places into the top 10, or the final place in the top 10 I should say, for the Williams driver. Then Justifies lost out 2, down into P11. Then Vintage up 3. Same for Hungry Styles into up into 5 places. And so up into P13. Into the pits comes Kaz. So he has decided to put it down medium compact cars as well. Unfortunately for Vessia and for Liam, they have pitted under this safety car, so they have of course lost places then off their starting position. And Serious Rushman has gained 2 places then with a fantastic start from P19 all the way up to P17 then in the first 5 laps. Great stuff indeed. That is your order so far. That is your position changes so far as well. We'll switch on to the tyre compounds to see what everybody's gone on to. Hard compound tyres for Kaz in the Alpha Tauri at the back of the field now, trying to catch up to the safety car queue. Hopefully he'll catch up in time and we can get ourselves back underway then at the end of lap 6 on to lap 7. Gordo said left, not right, so that's what's happening there. Would you prefer your controllers be steering to the left or to the right in Suzuka? I'm not quite sure. It's quite a variation of right and left turns, isn't it? It's not really like a anti-clockwise circuit or a clockwise circuit, so unfortunately it's probably not the best place to be with any issue, to be fair, on your controller or your wheel or whatever it is. But yeah, fingers crossed they come back from 3 then in the rest of this race then. But at the moment then he's into P3. Then we'll have to wait and see when we get ourselves restarted then and back underway what the action is going to hold here as well. Then will there be some rain on the forecast as well? It looks a bit overcast at the moment. Then potentially some grey clouds forming here over the circuit in the next few laps or so. have to wait for the safety car to come in now. I think it should be in at the end of this lap. Then, of course, we'll get that notification then as we cross into Sector 3 at the, or just before 130R, that is. So we'll have to wait and see then when we get to the Sector 3 line. The safety car then still flashing away then. But I think those lights might go out very momentarily now. Yes, they are, as the safety car coming in this lap then. Right, so everybody everybody in the top 14 has stayed out then. Vessia, Liam Yeh, Serious Mushroom and the Kaz have pitted, as we've got Hungry Styles and Vintage then having a few issues out there, and Vintage is facing backwards there as well then, so I'm not quite sure what is happening then, as Hungry Styles has gone through the order then. Yeah, okay, I don't know what is happening here, as God, yeah, fingers crossed that is, well, I don't know what that is, to be honest. He's somehow got himself through. He's knocked out his teammate, yeah, I'm not quite sure what Styles is doing there, because that is a very odd behaviour then. I'm not quite sure he's in control of his car either, to be honest. And he is... oh my God, Styles, what are you doing there? Oh, dearie me, that is horrible from Styles. I don't know if he's trying to get out of the way or what he's trying to do there, but he's... oh, dear me, that is very close indeed. I thought Equaz was going to go right into the back of him. That was going to be a very big impact indeed as well then, as Hungry Styles has... oh my God, as well, once again, this is not how you let people through on this circuit. There's all sorts of action here, as the Red Bull is causing havoc. And there's a Mercedes, there's some Liam Yeh, I think that was Liam Yeh in the Alfa Romeo, then he's had contact with Styles then. And Vintage, I think, Vintage had to come in the pit lane there as well then, after the contact from Styles. And I'm not quite sure what Styles is trying to do then, trying to let people through or not. But he's had a problem doing that either way then, and that has cost Liam Yeh. Unfortunately, I think, has he got wing damage there as Liam Yeh? Kaidel's got a 3-second battle. We'll come back to that, because I'm not quite sure what is happening in the back of the field here. Liam Yeh seems to have his front wing intact, thankfully. But that has just cost him time, it looks like, as it stands here. But... I think that was a glitch. I hope it was a glitch there. But, God, I have no idea what was happening there. That was very confusing to me as well. Right then, I think normal service has resumed now, as Hungry Styles has dropped down to P15 then, after being passed by Justify as well. Generally sets the fastest lap of the race, then he's back underway on those soft compound tyres. Already has a 1.7 second gap then as well. Into the pits comes Farfus had an issue somewhere. And he is into the box now as well then. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what was going on there between Hungry Styles and on that restart. Then he went through the whole field on that restart as well. There's all sorts of issues then, as well as Farf is up into the pit lane. There seems to be connection issues then for Coop as well. Then he seems to be lagging about in Sector 1 as well, but he's got himself... well, it seems like his car's stabilised itself, at least for the time being. I'm not quite sure if it's lobby issues or if it's just... something else going on out there, but God, that was a bit dodgy then on that restart. Hopefully there's no safety cars furthermore then, and we can deal with that. We can not have to deal with that issue, I should say then, ever again then, because that was slightly odd, at least, put it that way. Right then, Gorda then is on, putting the pressure now on New Zealand Can then. 2.8 seconds the gap then to the race leader of Jinner then, who was checked out once again then on the soft compound tyres. Still holding on then on those softs is the Mercedes and the Haas then of R2B as well then. Same for Justify then. Liam Yeh, of course, is pitted from the soft compound tyres under the safety car then to put on a set of medium compound tyres as well then. Away we go then for Gorda then on the back straight then, heading down towards 130R. Can he make a move into 130R or into the Casio Triangle then for P2 then on the back of the AlphaTauri, I should say then, into the Casio Triangle we go then. No, not quite making a move then at this attempt, and has to buy this time then for another lap or so. And Tango has said, I mean. Okay, sorry I was mean, but there we go. But Gorda then is coming down straight then towards turn 1, and unfortunately has not been able to get himself past. It looks like there's grey clouds forming as we got 3 of them going into turn 1. There's all sorts of action then. Coupe, R2B, and there's a McLaren, I think, of Vessia involved in that as well. And I don't think Vessia is aware that these drivers are on older tyres than him, to be fair. Only very slightly, but there's still going to be a much more bigger advantage then to the McLaren. Of course, it's a faster car as well compared to the Haas and the Williams. But Vessia then trying to put his nose in there as well into turn 1 was not going to go well. Then Kaidel's lost out. Kaidel's had an issue. Then Kaidel's off the circuit. Then at the Dunlop corner. Then he's trying to get himself back on. Then down into P12 then for Kaidel, and he's got himself back underway. But I'm not quite sure what's happening there. It seems to be all action, and the grey clouds I think have definitely started to form then. So I think we've got some rain on the forecast here, because it is definitely not as sunny as when we started 9 laps ago. And unfortunately for the drivers, I'm not quite sure if they're going to plan for that or not, but they might have been a bit more aware of it than I was, to be fair. So we'll have to wait and see. Gordo, I think, will try to make a move then very quickly indeed. Then if it's going to start raining very soon, he needs to get himself past and trying to get himself into the range then of the Mercedes. I think their soft compound tyres will start to drop off at some point. Well, they have to start to drop off at some point. But so they will of course drop off faster than those on the mediums and the hard compound tyres. As into P9 goes Vessia, then past R2B into the Casio Triangle. We go now, lining up a move then on the Williams of Coupe as well. So far so good. Then DRS. Yes, it is activated. So there we go then. As into turn 1 we go then. No changes in the top of the order then just yet. As we've got changes then with Vessia and Coupe then. Oh my goodness, I thought there was going to be contact there, but Coupe has got himself back through then on the McLaren up into P8 then with a great move indeed. And that now of course he's running chase after Sick as Muck then. Sick as Muck then has tried to get himself away as quickly as possible then from these two, because they're gaining on him and they're reeling him in very slowly, very quickly. Well, quickly indeed to be fair, but slowly in the sector 1 as well. So of course DRS was a bit of a factor then for those drivers as well. Then Sirius Mushroom up into P11. Then Kydell has had an issue again, I think somewhere. He's off the circuit then at Dunlop once again as well for the Alpine car, then losing out to Justify and trying to get himself back on the circuit, I should say. Then Hungry Styles has gone through, same for Liam Yeh, and the Alpine then of Kaido is really struggling out there. Not quite sure what's going on then for the Alpine driver then, but he's having a few issues into Dunlop corner then. It looks like maybe the issue with the setup there as well. Then far from the soft compound tyres then is trying to get himself back in this race. Then 24 seconds off the rest of the order as it stands. Vintage as well then after that collision then with Hungry Styles. Then he's lost out to Liam Yeh as well now. But Hungry Styles then was not everyone's a fan favourite, I don't think, after that safety car restart. But yeah, I think it was just a glitch then. I hope it was just a glitch, but I'm pretty sure it was, because Hungry Styles is not that sort of character. But there we go. Gordon now is trying to get himself back up into P2, I should say, there for the first time this race, but he's not going to get himself back up into P2 just yet. Then Coupe and Sick as Muck then switching places into the Casio Triangle. Come back to that, because here comes Gordo with some DRS then on the AlphaTauri of New Zealand Cam, then up into P2, down the inside then at turn 1. He's gone wide at turn 2 though. That could open the door then for the AlphaTauri, but not quite. Then Gordo takes P2, and Coupe and Vessia then switching places into turn 1 and 2 as well. Then they're going side by side then into turn 3. Then Coupe then has the position then ahead of the McLaren for the time being. Up into sector 1 we go, and Coupe then up into P7 as well. Then both of them getting past Sick as Muck, then down the main straight. Then Sick as Muck down to P9, then R2B on the waiting in the wings as well in the final points pair position as it stands. Then Sirius Russian then has caught up to the fight then for the final points pair position as well. Then Kiki then is trying to line up a move now for the podium places. Then he's all over the back then of the AlphaTauri of using a cam, that is. Gordo then is trying to reel in the race leader of Gina. Then the pole sitter of course here as well. Then 2.9 seconds. It was over 3 seconds on the previous lap or two. So now coming back in his favour then. Of all the sector ones not to do that, Suzuka is not the one to, says Tango. So I think he means I think Styles then trying to let people back through then. Yes, it was quite interesting indeed. Yeah, I think he well, thankfully, unfortunately, he did compromise a couple of people, but he didn't compromise them with any damage, which is good. Kiki has got himself past the AlphaTauri leading cannon through 130R, then into the podium places now for the second Mercedes driver, then on track that is, as we go through the Casio Triangle, then onto lap 12 now. DRS is going to be available then for Kiki, then on the back of Gordo, but I think they're going to run out of straight before they get to turn 1 for Kiki to line up a move for P2 as we go through into lap 12 now as well. Then let's see what the action's going to be like then down the back of the field, as Coupe then has got himself a nice little gap then to Vessia, and just about to hold off the move then into turn 1. Sick as Muck then can't get himself past the McLaren, then R2B holds on to the position as well, then ahead of Sirius Mushroom then, who's now all over the back then of the Haas as well. Here comes Kaido and Kaz. Kaido back up into P15, then trying to struggle back on then in this race, then after having a few difficult laps then for the Alpine driver, has got himself back underway. But yeah, not quite sure what happened to Kaido. Then he seems to be having a few technical issues then, as he's got himself back underway thankfully now, and got himself back past Kaz as well, trying to challenge Hungry Styles then 4P14 next as we go through. No, that's the Alpine ahead of us. And then there we go, we're looking to try and see where the Red Bull is. There he is as we fly into Degna 1 and 2. And now going through there very nicely indeed this time, Kydell. So looking like he's got himself sorted and back underway properly as well indeed. Farf is actually reeling in the drivers ahead of him. 16 seconds is the gap now. It was over 24 seconds only 2 laps ago. So that time is tumbling down now for the Haas driver, which is good stuff indeed, and getting himself back in the fight potentially here as well. 2.6 seconds now the gap to the lead. Then the soft compound tyres, I believe, are starting to drop off here. So that is getting going to be a very good indicator to how long they're going to last in the end of the race, or potentially in the race then as if it stays dry. But as it stands, it looks like the clouds are starting to form here, but potentially they can stave off then for the next 40 laps. We'll wait and see. Right, Geeky then all over the back corner. Here he comes, then he's on the charge, then he's Geeky then for P2, then he's got the position, he's got the move, he's up into P2, then he's back onto the front row of the grid then, or front row of the grid then where he was at the start of the race then, but he has got himself now a 2.5 second gap to his teammate then, Liam Yeh and Justify switching places. They're down the main straight towards turn 1, Justify down to P13, Liam Yeh into P12 then, and trying to fight on, trying to get himself back into the top 10 here. He's 5 seconds or so off the top 10 as it stands then, so it's going to be a great recovery indeed if he can get himself back in the fight. Then it looks like he can with the pace that he's got so far, and on the the freshest mediums compared to the rest, only about 4 laps or so then. But of course the likes of Vessia, Serious Mushroom, then Liam Yeh, and I think it was Farf actually, but he has pitted again then, has Farf then of course pitted under the safety car, so now they are going to be in a better spot, I would say, compared to the for the tyre wear in that sense, compared to those who of course did not pit under the lap 4 safety car. So there you go. If you didn't know how that worked, that's how it works. But there you are then. Gordon then has lost out to Kiki, then trying to keep up then with the Mercedes driver. The hard compound tyres now phasing in very nicely. 2.1 seconds the gap then to the race leader. The soft compound tyres really starting to drop off here. Jenna then maybe thinking about a pit stop very soon then on lap 13 already. Can he get those tyres even further into the race then to help him in the next stint or two? We'll wait and see. But so far he is soldering on then on those soft compound tyres. Will he call it a day here? Nope, he's carrying on then. Carrying on in the race lead now with the gap there under 2 seconds now already then through the Casio Triangle. They've gained a lot of time then on the lead Mercedes then into... Is that rain or is that just the images then? It's not rain. That's okay then. Into the pits comes R2 Beat then. He's calling it day then on the soft compound tyres. So he is thinking the time is right then to get off those soft compounds as Serious Mushroom then takes P9 away from Sick as Muck then into turns 1 and 2. Then Hungry Styles, it's Hungry Styles then getting himself past R2 Beat then onto the medium compound tyres for the Haas driver. And away, very slowly away he goes. Yep, he's teleported, so there we go. Wonderful stuff. R2 Beat, I think he's going to come out ahead of his teammate, is he? Yes, we'll have to wait and see. Yes, he's out of the pit lane now, and away he goes. Fresh medium compound tyres then for R2 Beat. Then away he goes then on his second stint then of the race. 1.8 seconds to lead to the gap between the race leaders now, both of the Mercedes then, as Kiki is starting to close in now on those hard compound tyres. Then Gordo and New Zealand Can trying to soldier on, trying to stay in the fight then as well. Kamara Racer, I don't want to jinx it, but he's doing a great job out there in P5 currently then, and he's staying with the top 4 as well as it stands then. 3.6 seconds back to Ekpaz then, as we've got Vessi then in the fight now for P6 as well. Then that McLaren then on fresh and medium compound tyres is gaining then on Ekpaz as well as we go into the spoon curve. Serious Russian into the top 10 now as well. Then he's trying to get himself onto the back of Coupe then to stay in that DRS window and potentially put himself out of range of a Sick as Muck. Then 1 second is the gap then between the Ferrari and the Aston Martin. The ERS light flashing away then on the back of the Aston Martin as well, showing that he has not got much electrical energy to play with. Have a breathe. And there we go. So good stuff indeed then. Kiki might have had a bit of an issue on that lap because he's lost out to his teammate. Then it's over 2 seconds now. The gap then Gordo coming back at the Mercedes then in towards turn 1. ERS light flashing for Kiki as well. So this is just showing they haven't got much energy to play with. Then as Vessier then does get himself past Ekpaz into P6 now as well. Then 3.8 seconds the gap then to the top 5 for the McLaren driver. Serious Russian couldn't get himself past Coupe. Then yellow flags in the background. Yellow flags. What's that? Who's that? What's going on? It's Kydell. I think Kydell. Is it Kydell? Yes, I think it was Kydell. Then he's got it. He had another issue then. It's yellow flags then for Kydell. He's really struck. What's going on there for Kydell? He's having a few issues out there. Kaz, I think, is going to go pop. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Goodness me, what's going on? Kydell, I think they're having a few issues. They're down the main straight then. He's got himself back underway, it looks like. But not quite sure if he's having some sort of technical issue then with the wheel then. But he's having a few problems out there nonetheless then. Trying to get himself back underway. Farf then on the soft compound tyres. He's right behind his team. And then 6.6 seconds, 6.5 seconds the gap then to the top 15 then for R2 Pete then. Who, of course, is technically the first driver to make a scheduled stop in this race, and that was on lap 13. Kaz and Kydell switching places, then Kydell then having a few issues as well, and Kydell has lost the right end plate there as well of that wing. So I'm not quite sure again if there was another issue through the first and second Degno for the Alpine. But he is going to have to come in the pit lane to sort that out then. And I'm not quite sure if there's something more deeper underlying there that's causing a few issues then for the Alpine driver as well into the Casio triangle. The soft compound tires seem to have picked up again then for Jenner, because he's now keeping that gap steady at 2.1 seconds. 2.2 seconds then to Kiki as it stands then. So potentially Jenner then is got himself back in the window. Potentially went through a graining phase now and are okay for the time being. Serious Mushroom getting himself past Coop, then up into P8, then flying through in the Ferrari, then takes the position away from the Williams car. Good to hear your voice again. Blimey, you don't know what you're talking about there, mate, says Hassel, but thanks very much for your support. It is much needed, because I feel like I'm about to die, but there we go. And then Kydell is in the pit lane now, and hopefully they can get that car fixed in the pit lane as well, and there's a front wing change of course as well, but hopefully they can get the technical issues fixed as well then for that Alpine to get himself back in this race then potentially later on in the Grand Prix. So we've got an issue then for New Zealand Cam. He's lost out the DRS then to Gordo, who is now 1.2 seconds ahead of the AlphaTauri. Kamara Racer, is trying to hold on then to the AlphaTauri as well then, but Gordo is the one putting the pressure on, and here he comes then into the spoon curve all over the back of Kiki then as we go through into the back straight then towards 130R for the 16th time. As up the hill we go then firstly as we power through, and then here comes Gordon then all over the back of the Mercedes now as we go through into 130R. Is he going to go for a move down the inside, or is he going to bide his time? Maybe going to go for a dive into the Casio triangle. We'll wait and see. Here we go then on board with them. No, he's not. He's decided to abandon that idea and wait for the main straight. Then DRS of course going to be available then to the McLaren. Oh dear, he's all sorts of squirrely then out of the Casio triangle. That's going to compromise his exit, compromise his time as well. Then here he comes though on the back of the Mercedes then down towards turn 1. Is he going to go for the move then down the inside? Yes he is. Then he's down the inside of the Mercedes, I should say. He's got himself up into P2, back up into P2, and splits the two Mercedes then away from that double 1-2 position as well. Into the pits comes Hungry Stars. Then he's done 15 laps then on the medium compact tyres, calling it a day on those tyres already as well. Kamara Racer then held on to New Zealand Cam then, but they have dropped off the back end of the top 3 as it stands, or the top 2 and 3. Hungry Stars then onto the soft compound tyres. Interesting stuff indeed. A wing change then for Styles as well then. Unfortunately then for the Red Bull car, then he's going to be passed by Favre and his teammate potentially as well then. Kydell then is down the back of the field then coming through into the Casio triangle now, but trying to soldier on in this race, which is fair play to the Alpine driver after the technical issues that he's been facing then in this Grand Prix. And like I said, it's been a pretty epic Grand Prix so far. 17 laps then have been, well 16 laps have been completed, 16 and a half, but so far it's been pretty good stuff indeed. Then here comes Kiki. Their hard compound tyres are not doing as well as I would have thought then. The gap's still 2.2 seconds then to Jinner, and Jinner is doing a great job on those softs, to be fair. He's soldiering on it. They went through a bit of a difficult phase, but it seems like they've come out the other side then, and they're performing brilliantly now for the current pole sitter, the current race leader I should say, who is the pole sitter, but he is looking strong then on those soft compound tyres. Now they've gone through that graining phase as well then, so potentially something to look out for the drivers who are going to go onto the soft compound tyres later on in this race. They might be able to go a bit longer than they thought, which is going to be interesting stuff indeed. Here comes Kiki then on the back of Gordo. Can he make a move into turn 1? He's too far back then. Kamara Racer then on the back of the New Zealand Can then into turn 1 as well. Is too far back then to make a move then, but R2B is not too far back then. He's made the move then on Kaz and up into P13 on the back of the AlphaTauri, and now in front of the AlphaTauri as well then as we go into the Casio triangle onto lap 18. Right. I'm trying to think of what's going on out here. To be fair, it seems like it's we've reached a bit of the where are we? We're the third of the way through, I think, roughly. I can't do the maths that well, but I'm just going to estimate as Serious Mushroom and Coop then are the closest battle on track as it stands at the moment. And these two battling away for P8 and P9. And the Williams of Coop then is looking to line up a move very quickly indeed on that Ferrari as well, going through into the second Degner all over the back end of the Ferrari diffuser, but into the hairpin. Can he make a late move? No, he can't, not quite as well. Kydell sets the fastest lap of the race, sorry. But just eat the pizza before I started streaming, so that is going to be very bad indeed. But what was I going to say? Kydell then sets the fastest lap of the race, then gets himself back in this race. And of course, if he finishes the Grand Prix, that will be a point in his favour and the Alpine's favour as well. Then even down in P19, because it goes to anybody who finishes the Grand Prix, regardless of where you are on the track. Kamara Racer, has lost out then to that DRS then of New Zealand camp, which is very, very important then for the Alpine. But he might still be in it, to be fair. I'm not quite sure. Kiki then is back on the fight then with the McLaren. Then into the pits comes Kamara, and he's called it a day then on the medium compound tyres. So interesting call then from the Alpine driver, the lead Alpine driver, of course, in this race. What's he going to go on to this time? Then it's another set of medium compounds then for Kamara. So he's back out underway. Where would he come out then? He's going to be having to do another where's that going to be? He's going to be another 20 laps or so. That's going to be around lap 38, 39. And then on to potentially a set of soft compound tyres from there. We'll have to wait and see. Yellow flags. Yellow flags is for Kiki. Kiki's had an issue then in sector 1 somewhere. Around the outside goes Vessia then, and Kiki dropping down to P5 then. I don't think he was in the fight then, was Kiki, because Gordo was too far ahead then on the medium compound tyres. But Kiki now dropping down to P5 then, has lost out then to New Zealand Cam and to Vessia as well, and dropped down to P5 then for the Mercedes driver. Unfortunately for him, but can he get himself back in this race? I'm sure he can. But there we are then. So good stuff indeed then. We've had the Kamara Racer pit for the medium compound tyres. He's come out ahead of R2B then by 3.5 seconds then. Of course, R2B did the first scheduled stop 5 laps ago now on those medium compound tyres as well. Then Hungry Stars has set the fastest lap of the race then on the soft compound, so that is good news for him. Of course, that point now has been taken away from Kydell then and is in his favour as well. Into sector 1 we go, into sector 2 we go, up into the Casio triangle then for Jenna. Then of course he has not made a pit stop just yet then on those soft compound tyres, still keeping the gap steady then to 2.3 seconds to Gordo. Now the gap's then extending between the top 3 as well. Then 2 seconds has created the gap then between New Zealand Cam and Gordo as well. Then ELRS light flashing away then for the AlphaTauri then into the final turn then for Vessia. Kiki is in the pit lane. That is very early on. The hard compound tyres are done and dusted then for the Mercedes driver. That's very odd indeed, unless he just cooked them then with a spin then at the we saw they had that incident. There's a wing change as well then for Kiki. Justify is also in the box as well then for the Ferrari team. Then away goes the Mercedes, and Justify calling it a day then. 19 laps on the soft compound tyres. Kaz has got a 3-second penalty for corner cutting as we go through the Casio triangle then for the AlphaTauri driver. Away he goes. Where is Kiki going to come out in this battle as well? Then Kaz I think is going to get the place then on the Mercedes as well as we fly down the main straight. Then there is the AlphaTauri then on the right hand side flying into turn 1. Then Kiki out in P13 and Justify then into P14 as well. Although here comes Farf then on the soft compound tyres in towards turn 1. Where will he go? What will happen here? Is the Ferrari trying to go around? No, it's the Haas trying to go around the outside, I should say. And he has got himself up into P14 ahead of Justify now. Of course, Justify on the fresher tyres will phase in very quickly indeed on those mediums as well, and then try and get himself back through on the Haas car, I would imagine. Out in front, the gaps then have started to emerge, but there's not so much gaps then between Coop and Sirius Mushroom and Equaz here, as all of them then are coming through the spoon curve now as well onto lap 20 of 53. Then we're flying through this race. Like I said, we were over the halfway, a third of the way point. We're almost at the halfway point now. So they've been very well behaved then here in the 100% league so far. As we go into 130R then, and now down towards the Casio triangle. Coop then all over the back now of the Alfa Romeo. And can he line up a move? Then can he get a good exit? That is not a good exit, I don't think. It seems to be sliding about a bit there as we go into lap 21 now. Here comes the Williams car then down the main straight. DRS of course available then to the Williams as we go in towards turn 1, but he's too far back to make the move into turn 1. He sits behind Equaz for the next couple of corners, I suppose you could say, because there's not much overtaking places then into sector 1. Justify and Favre then switching places then up into P14 for Justify. Kiki's got himself past Kaz now as well then into P12. They're chasing down the top 10 as well. 8 seconds off R2B as it stands then. R2B of course has made a scheduled stop then as well, and he is flying and trying to get himself back in the points paying positions then, and of course he will do when the top 8 do pit. Of course, Kamara Racer has already pitted as well 2 laps ago on the medium compound tyres, back into the top 10 as well for Kamara. Then looking strong here in this race, and hopefully he can hold it together then for some big points for the Alpine team. Now that I've said that, I've probably cursed him, which I'm very sorry about then, Kamara, but please don't hurt me. So there we go then. Farf then has been passed by Justify and trying to hold on to the Ferrari car as we go through sector 1 here as well then. And looking to make a move then into the spoon curve once again then for Coop and Serious Mushroom then all over the back now of Equaz then, both the Williams and the Alfa Romeo then on 20-lap-old tyres then, but Serious Mushroom of course is 4 laps younger tyres then, who's done a great job then. He's been down under the safety car, not that he's done a great job of saving the tyres, but he has got himself 4 lap younger tyres because of that extra stop then. So we'll have to wait and see into the Casio Triangle if anybody's going to make any moves here. This time Coop needs a good exit. Can he keep that good exit? Yes, he can this time, and that is going to help him get himself right on the back then of the Alfa Romeo, then down towards the main straight. Here he comes in the Williams car. DRS then on the money. Here he comes then for P5, and he takes P5 ahead of the Alfa Romeo then into turn 1. Then the Williams now into P5, then into the 10-point scoring range for P5 that is, and looking strong so far then. Good stuff indeed then. Now Serious Mushroom can try and get himself through as well. In the background, Liam Yeh is all over the back now of Sick as Muck then. Of course, same situation then for Liam Yeh. He's on 4 lap younger tyres, having pitted under the first safety car on lap 4, and now is chasing down P8 then in the Aston Martin, which is Sick as Muck as it stands, but might very well be a Alfa Romeo of Liam Yeh very soon as we go through sector 1 into sector 2. Here comes Vintage on the back of Farf then up into P15 for Vintage, and chasing down now Justify then 2 seconds behind, 2.7 seconds behind now the Ferrari car then. Farf then on the 14 lap old soft compound tyres might start to realise the softs are not the best at this stage, and Kaido and Hungry Styles are in a battle between the two of them as well. Soft compound tyres for one, hard compound tyres for the other then, but it looks like Kaido has got himself back underway in this Grand Prix and seems to be sorting out the issues that he was facing into Dunlop corner before in the early part of this race. So good stuff indeed. Equaz then staying with the Williams car of Coop then for the time being. This is helping, well not helping him, but it's helping keep Serious Mushroom behind them with the aid of some DRS and some slipstream then from the Williams car. And at the moment into the Casio Triangle then, Serious Mushroom then can't get himself through then just yet. He has to sit behind for another corner or two, but here he comes now onto the main straight. Can he make a double overtake here? Here he comes then. He's got a great launch out of the Casio Triangle and then all over the back then of Equaz as we go down the hill towards turn 1. Can he make a move then on the inside of the Alfa Romeo? Yes, he can. He's up into P6. There we go. I knew there was an S involved. But there's an S's involved here now as well. Then Serious Mushroom now up into P6 now, and going through the S's section here as well. Those fresher medium compound tyres, I should say, not very fresh right now, but they are fresher than those on Coop's and Equaz's cars. So he is now up into P6, as splitting the two then, and up into potentially P5 then very soon with the extra freshness there, extra grip then on those medium compound tyres, even though it is only 4 laps then different. But so far so good then. Liam Yeh then still on the back of Sick as Muck then. Sick as Muck holding on to that position for the time being. Farf has picked up a penalty then for Farf at turn 1 somehow, so that is odd stuff indeed, but he's now in the range of Vintage, trying to hold on to that Red Bull car as well as we go through sector 1 of the S's section. Then Hungry Styles then is not too far off this battle as well. Then that is Hungry Styles then going through in towards Dunlop as well. Then Kaido right in the background as well, but Hungry Styles now only 1 second off the back of Farf. Now he's got himself in the 1 second range, and that DRS there is going to be available now for Hungry Styles as well. These 4 at the back then going to be having an awesome fight very soon, so we'll come back to that one as onto the back straight. Jenner is in the pit lane finally. Then he's got a 1.2 second gap. Then we didn't see exactly what the gap was before he came in the box, but Jenner then from the race lead, then from pole position, then has called it a day on the soft compound tyres and onto a set of medium compound tyres from now, and away he goes. Then where will he come out is the question. I think he'll be behind this battle here. Equaz is coming in the pit lane, so Equaz calling it a day. Then here comes Serious Mushroom then on the back of Coop. Then Coop up into P4. Jinner coming out the pit lane now. Where will he be in relation to the rest of the field? Then Sick as Muck and Kamara Racer have gone through. Kamara Racer has gone through. Blimey. Kamara Racer has gone through, then he's done an undercut with 5 lap medium compound tyres, then he's got himself into a net race lead as it stands, with the pit stop still to unfold then for the rest of the drivers ahead of him, and that is fantastic from Kamara Racer. Then Jinner then was cruising out in the distance, and he didn't think that he was under any threat then, but he might be under threat from now, because he's got a 3-second deficit now to Kamara Racer, who has put the medium compound tyres on 5 laps ago, and got himself now into a net race lead then, with Sick as Muck then and Liam Yeh holding him up a bit here, to be fair, because they're on older tyres, to be honestly, so don't have to jump out of the way, but they are costing him a bit of time as well here as we go into the hairpin now for Kamara Racer then. But it's been a very fantastic stint then indeed then for Kamara Racer. Went under the radar for sure, but now is looking strong here as well. Then here he comes now all over the back of Sick as Muck then as we go towards the spoon corner once again. Lap 24 then off 53 then into, oh dear, there's all sorts of issues then. I think that's just my connection, to be fair. Hopefully it's my connection. as we go through the spoon corner now as well. Then as down up the hill, then we go onto the back straight. Then here he comes, then flying through. Then is he going to try and go for a move then into 130R is the question. Yes, he is. He looks like he's going to go for it. No, he's backed off. Then he's backed off as into the pits comes Gordo as well. Then this is the action we want to see, though. Here comes Gira in the background there. You can see the Mercedes in the background as well. Then as we go into the Casio triangle once again, then as here comes Kamara then on the back of these two as well. Once again, DRS going to be available then for both cars, but here comes Kamara on the fresh tyres. Then here he flies down the main straight. Then can he make a double move then into turn one? He's going to go down the inside of Sickers Muck. Is he? He's going to go for it. No, yes he is. He's got the position. Has he? Yes, he has done. No, he's gone down the inside. Sickers Muck holds it around the outside. There's contact between the two of them as well. Oh my goodness. And all this battling, as there's contact again then between Kamara and Sickers Muck, and Sickers Muck's been sent off the circuit there, and he's got himself back underway. But I'm not quite sure that was frustration or just that unfortunately innocentness from Kamara Racer. Sickers Muck back underway now. Kamara Racer then has lost out to Jenner in that incident as well. Then so I think that's going to be very costly indeed for Kamara, because that will be, I'm sure, an issue then that will be looked at after the race as well. Then Kamara then is struggling on then, but unfortunately then he's lost out to Jenner as well. Then Jenner now back up into the net race lead, of course, because he has of course pitted, which is good stuff indeed. But Jenner now all over the back of Liam Yeh as we go through into the spoon curve. Lap 25 of 53 has commenced. They were almost at halfway point as well. I reckon Kamara is on a two-stop. I think everybody's on a two-stop as it stands. At the moment, that is, but who knows? I don't even know, to be fair. So maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong, and I have no idea. But that's not too uncommon, as Gordo's on the hard compound tyres. So I think Gordo might be on a one-stop, to be fair. Kiki has got himself past R2B, then up into P8. Now R2B dropping down to P9 as it stands. And here comes Jenner then on the back of Liam Yeh. Then Liam Yeh is on much older tyres than the Mercedes drivers. We go down onto the main straight as well. Here we are up into P3. Up into P3 goes Jenner. Then Serious Rushman in the pit lane onto the hard compound as well. Then so it looks like there is some drivers then trying to go for a one-stop here as well. Interesting. We'll have to wait and see how it's going to play out then. Sickers Muck then has got himself back past Mushroom. Of course, those two were battling then earlier on in this race, as Serious Rushman has got himself past. Then he's now coming to the pit lane for some fresh tyres, and Sickers Muck has soldered on. Then Equaz then has got himself back past Mushroom as well, then on those hard compound tyres, pitting 2 laps ago, then back up into the top 10 now for Equaz as well. Sickers Muck gets a pit, then Liam Yeh, same for him as well. Vesio in P2 and New Zealand Camden, who's taken the lead 6 seconds ahead. Now there's all sorts of action here with Gordo then and Kamara Racer. And Kamara Racer is again on the fresh tyres, and they've been held up behind Liam Yeh as it stands. Then kind of go for the inside then at the hairpin. They're trying to get a good exit here as well on the medium compound tyres. We've got much more grip than Liam Yeh compared to the Alfa Romeo, then on much older tyres as well. Then as we go into the spoon curve, and Kamara has got himself past and up into P4. I'm getting tired, if you couldn't tell. Here comes Gordo on the hard compound. He's got himself past. It's been a long working week, even though it's only been 3 days so far. But thank God it's only 4 as well. But there we go. Then Gordo up into P5. Then Liam Yeh then on those unit compound tyres, struggling. The fact goes on the much fresher compounds as well. Then into the Casio triangle we go once again. Then so there we are. Looks like Kamara Racer then has got himself ahead then of both, or did get himself ahead of both. Well, he will be ahead of both McLarens actually, because of course Vesio is at the pit again. Here comes Gordo then on the back of Kamara as we go down towards turn 1. Into P4 goes the McLaren then on the hard compound then, and away he goes then into turn 2 as well. Then Liam Yeh then holding on to these two as well as it stands then, with some DRS to help pull himself along down the main straight then, but he's going to have to come into the pit then I think very soon. We'll have to wait and see. Then he started on the soft compound tyres, he went to mediums then under the first safety car. Will he go to mediums again then and try and get to the end of the race from here? It might be a tall order, but we will find out. Justified now all over the back of his teammate then, as we've had issues. Then Kamara Race has picked up a 3-second penalty. That is bad news for Kamara. Then coming through the first and second deadness as well. Then that'll be added to his race time, and I think he might be in line for a bit of a penalty then from Sickers Muck, because I don't think Sickers Muck's going to be too happy with him through the next at the end of this race. But we'll wait and see. But Kamara Racer then is soldering on then P5. Then he's got a 3-second penalty, of course, added to his race time as it stands, but that might be increased a bit slightly with the incident into towards turn 3 on the previous couple of laps or so with Sick as Muck then. But of course, top 2 yet to pit then, so Kamara Racer was in a net podium place as it stands as well. Depending on, of course, how the rest of the field unfolds, then who's going to be doing 2 stops, who's going to be doing 1 stops. I'd imagine Gordo, Equaz and Serious Mushroom then, and Coop as well then on the hard compound tyres are going to the end of the Grand Prix from here. But will it be the faster strategy? Will it be the 1 stop or a 2 stop is the question. Gordo is looking pretty quick indeed, actually, out there. So he's on the fastest lap of the race then. Sick as Muck's got a 3-second penalty, unfortunately, for his efforts through 130R somewhere, and trying to get himself back to the pit lane, I think, there, because those 27 lap old hard, medium compound tyres are still going on the Aston Martin then. He's still soldering on then, so fair play to Sick as Muck then. Same for New Zealand Cam then, who has done 27 laps as well on those medium compound tyres. Not quite sure what is the strategy then for these two, because I would imagine if they can get 28 laps out of the mediums, then they can get the hard compound tyres to the end from here and maybe have a bit more tyre life to spare as well, then justify then under pressure from Coop as well as we go into sector 1. And Kydell has got himself past Kaz, back up into P15 for Kydell. Good stuff indeed, Kydell. They're battling back in this race then after a very, very difficult first half of the Grand Prix. But so far he is getting himself back up the order then. Good stuff. Vintage back in the pit lane. Hard compound tyres for Vintage then. He's back underway then, trying to get himself to the end of the Grand Prix from here. Favre, I think, will get himself past the Red Bull car as we go out of the pit lane for Vintage then. Back underway then for the Red Bull car. Where was I looking? I was looking somewhere down here, wasn't I? Justify then, and Serious Mushroom then as Coop there is joined the fight then on the hard compound. Much fresher hard compound, but of course Justify has done only 8 laps on those mediums, so they still be in a good operating window, I imagine. But I don't know much, so there we go. If you ever have to question me about Formula 1, just make sure you know about make sure you test me about the colours, and that's about it. The stuff that I can see on the screen is the best bit. Equaz now all over the back of Sick as Muck then. We'll come back to the fight. Oh dear, what's going on here? That was Liam Yeh coming in the pit lane. I thought there was action going on there. Coop has got himself past Justify through 130R, now on the back of Serious Mushroom, then splitting the 2 Ferraris into the Casio triangle we go then. Liam Yeh into the box then, and onto a set of hard compound tyres then for the Alfa Romeo. Then away he goes, and where will he come out is the question. Trundling down the pit lane now. I think we'll come out behind this pack here as we go on to the main straight then. Where is the main straight? There it is. Coop then is into P11 then, trying to get himself into the top 10 then, past Serious Mushroom very shortly indeed. But both the Ferrari ahead of him and himself then are on fresh hard compound tyres, looking to go to the end of the Grand Prix. Sick as Muck soldering on still out there. He's on 28 lap old hard medium compound tyres. He is really putting in a shift on those hard compounds. Save for New Zealand Cam. And there we go. Into the pitch comes Kaz, then onto the soft compound tyres in the AlphaTauri then, but he's done a great job so far as well, soldiering on in the AlphaTauri then after putting himself up for the challenge then with the reserve appearance then in the AlphaTauri as well then. Good stuff indeed. Out of the pitch then comes in P17 onto the soft compound tyres, and away he goes ahead of Vintage for the time being, that is. Here comes Jenner then on the back of Vessia as well then, in towards 130R then. Vessia I think is backed out of that because he knows that Jenner is on much fresher tyres then, and flying through in the Mercedes, the previous race leader then, the pole sitter of course here, as we go into the Casio triangle, and Vessia then I think has given him a bit of a nudge then to move him on his way, but Vessia has lost a lot of time because of that as well. Onto the main straight we go then, and Vessia, is there going to be some T-orders here? No, doesn't look like it. So Vessia I think needs to figure it out then and slow himself down then. Yes, he has done, but I think he was still using DRS then down the main straight and thinking that Gordo was going to get himself past. Not quite, but they have switched places then. McLaren's then Gordo now up into P3, back up into podium places now for the McLaren, and back underway. Martin then up into P7 as it stands then, looking good as well out in front then. Here comes Sick as Muck then, here comes Serious Mushroom then on Sick as Muck then. He's got himself up into P9 now, has the Ferrari, and past the Aston Martin then, who's still going on those old medium compound tyres then. The hards of Cooper got himself past as well then. The Aston Martin's going to be under a lot of pressure here as well. Justify is going to be all over the back of him very shortly as well. Into sector 2. We're not going to get to sector 2 before he gets himself past. Justify's going very wide there, and that has compromised the Ferrari as well. Then up towards Dunlop, and trying to hold on to the back of that Aston Martin as well now. Coop then trying to hold on to the back of the Ferrari of Serious Mushroom, and who's trying to check out the distance there as well. Coop, Sick as Muck has lost a lot of time. There's yellow flags. Yellow flags. It's for Liam Yeh at the top of the hill. Where is that? Yes, it's at Dunlop as well. Then Dunlop then for Liam Yeh has been costly, it looks like, for a few drivers here as well. Liam Yeh trying to get himself back underway, but he has recovered the car. Just trying to get himself sorted then, I think. But unfortunately for Liam, that is that end plate damage? I can't tell. Yes, it is left end plate damage, unfortunately, for Liam. Yeah, so he's going to have to get that sorted, unfortunately, into the box then to replace that front wing. As Gordon out all over the back of Jenner as we go on to lap 31 of 53. 21 laps remain at the end of this one. Here comes Gordon then on the back of the Mercedes into turn 1. Not close enough then. He will come back to the fight then, justifying Sicker's luck then into 130. Oh my goodness me. There's all sorts of contact there as well. Then into the Casio triangle we go now as well. And blimey, there, it looked like the Aston Martin was flying off the circuit there, but I think that was just on my screen. But there we go, then Sicker's Muck is carrying on again on the medium compound tyres. I'm not sure if New Zealand Cam in P1 and Sicker's Muck in soon to be P11 actually. Yeah, P11. Oh dear, as the Ferrari I thought going for a move down the outside, trying to hold it there, but not quite then on Sicker's Muck. But there we go, then up into P11 goes to Sicker's Muck once again then. But like I was saying, I'm not quite sure if New Zealand Cam in P1 and Sicker's Muck now in P11 have realised they have to make a pit stop in this race. Unless it is going to rain, in which case they can hold out as long as they want then. And I think Justify then is having a few connection issues. He is based in America, so that is probably right. But he is a bit far away across the pond into Degner 1. Then we go then for the Ferrari then all over the back now of the Aston Martin. Of course, they've lost a lot of time down to Coop. Then Coop is back in within DRS range then of Serious Mushroom. Serious Mushroom, the Ferrari is all over the back almost of Equaz then. So great stuff indeed. Right. Let's calm down a bit, which is nice. Gorda then all over the back now of Jenner then in the Mercedes. Let's see if this is going to be a fight for the net race lead. And Jenner then is covering the inside. Then here comes Gorda then with some DRS. Then Jenner is using the battery power to hold on to that P2 for the time being. And he has held on to the position for the time being as well then into turn 1 and 2. And the McLaren stays behind the ERS light flashing away then for Gordo, which shows that he is harvesting some energy there as well. And Kamara Racer has caught up to Vessia now for P4. Both those drivers have penalties as well that we added onto their race time. Kamara Racer is all over the back now of the McLaren. Then, of course, the McLaren of Vessia has done 27 laps on those medium compound tyres. Half the tyre life for Kamara Racer. So I think he might have a bit of an easier move then to try and get himself past for P4. He needs to get himself past quickly though, because Kiki is catching up then. Hungry Styles back in the pit lane. He's done 15 laps on the soft compound tyres, then into the box, then medium compound tyres probably to the end of the Grand Prix. 20 laps to go, or 21 laps to go, I should say. Kamara then all over the back of Vessia then, and now Kiki has joined the fight. So Kiki is trying to get himself back in this race after a difficult stint then in the first stint. I'm not quite sure. He had a spin, I think, then into turn 1 and 2, which cost him, and he switched then from the hard compound tyres, which he started on, to the medium compound tyres, which he's on now. But as it stands then, that is the way it is going then for Kiki, trying to get himself back into the podium places then at the moment. Gordo then is all over the back now of Jenner then in towards the Casio triangle. There is New Zealand Can then going into the Casio triangle ahead of us, as Gordo then trying to get a good exit here to try and line up a move on the Mercedes then as we go down the straight once again then onto lap 33, not 53. As once again then the McLaren, I think, too far back to make a move then into turn 1. Yes, he is. He's also out of deployment as well then, so unfortunately then he's having to sit behind yellow flags, virtual safety car as... What's going on? I thought Kamara Racer was involved then, because I'm not sure what is going on. A virtual safety car. Who was it? RTB's got a 5-second mode for speeding under the VSC. Equaz into the pits, then Serious Mushroom in the pits, Cooper's in the pits as well, Sicker's Muck got his opportunity to the pit as well, finally, for the Aston Martin then. He's got a 5-second mode for speeding in the pit lane as well, then Justified carries on. That is the, well, I'm not even sure what caused it, to be fair, but, no, Kaz has got all of his wing. Vintage looks like he's got all of his wing then. Farf has lost his front wing, so it was Farf then who was pushing too hard then and has cost himself his front wing then and the VSC to go with, but it looks like everyone filtering out the pit lane now as well then, so they have got themselves all sorted onto a set of medium compound tyres. Mushroom on 4-lap old mediums then, unless I've got that wrong as well then, but he did say last week, I think, that he was on, it said he was on old tyres, but he was on fresh tyres. Sick as Muck then taking a scenic route, but has got himself back underway then on the soft compound tyre as well then. Kaido out of the pit lane, P13 now for Kaido. That's great stuff indeed for Kaido, who struggled in the early stages of this Grand Prix. Liam, yeah, also in the pit lane. Farf is finally in the box then, but after causing that VSC, he's not going to benefit from it, as he is on to a set of hard compound tyres. New Zealand Cam did not get the opportunity to pit under that VSC, and now he's under pressure from both Gordo and from Jenner as well then. Here we go on to lap 34, and the AlphaTauri, oh my goodness, there's contact between the AlphaTauri and Jenner then as well as we go. Oh my days. and that's a reset to track, unfortunately, for New Zealand Cam there. But Jenna then contact in the back of the AlphaTauri as we go into lap 34 then, and that has cost New Zealand Cam a lot of time indeed. Kamara Race has got himself past Vessia. Here comes Kiki then into turn 1. Can he make a move on the Alpine as well? Not quite then, but he's got himself past the McLaren at least into P4. And my goodness me, there's yellow flags again, and it's for it's for an Alpine, isn't it? Is that for Kamara Racer then? Kamara Racer's had another problem at turn 2, and he's got himself back on the way, but he's lost out to Vessia again as the Alpine driver. I'm not quite sure what is going on here. It started just that VSC caused a bit of pandemonium then, didn't it? But we have got ourselves hopefully calmed down a bit. New Zealand Cam coming out in P6 then, and he's on the fresh set of soft compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. So that is good stuff indeed. 12 seconds behind Kamara, but of course on the fresh soft compound tyres, he will be setting some pace then, I think, in the next few stages of this race. Here comes Gordon, then he's still trying to fight for the race lead then with Jinnah. We saw the hard compound tyres then. It didn't phase in very well for Kiki then in the first stint. 18 laps then for Kiki in the end, and after that spin then he called it a day on the hards, but he wasn't gaining as much as we thought then as compared to his teammate of Jinnah then, who started on soft compound tyres in the latter stages of that stint as well then, and actually Kiki came in the pit lane before Jinnah did, so it was a bit of an odd one that, but that is that then. Here comes Gordon then on the back now of the Mercedes as we go down the straight once again then onto lap 35. Jinnah is covering the inside then, as Gordon trying to go around the outside, but he's too far back still to make a move into turn 1 and turn 2, and sits behind the Mercedes once again then. 10 seconds the gap between New Zealand Cam now and Kamara. The gap is flying down, sorry. Keep getting pizza indigestion. But Kamara then is trying to get himself back underway then. Vessia has done 30 laps on the medium compact tyres. He is well, I'm not quite sure what the play is, to be fair, but that is the play nonetheless. That's the strategy, I should say, then, nonetheless, then, as R2B on the hard compound tyres, I think Equaz and Coop then, and potentially Sirius Mushroom then, will be in the range of them very shortly. Sick as much opted for the soft compound tyre as well, then. Kaidel 10 seconds back on the medium compound tyre. If there's any more mistakes for the drivers ahead of him, then he could get himself into the range of the top 10. But there we go then. Farp, I think, unfortunately, they're struggling away then in the house at the back of the field. And after that first few laps instantly, Hungry Styles has the fastest lap of the race. Then good stuff from Styles. Then soldiering on in this Grand Prix as well. Then fresh medium compound tyres then to the end of the Grand Prix for the Red Bull car. Gorder there is still waiting for a move then for the race lead here, and the McLaren now is probably getting a bit fed up of looking at the back of that Mercedes diffuser for the 35 laps or so that he's been, or nearly 35 laps or so that he's been there. But let's have a look and see this time, can he make the move then into turn 1? Can he get a good exit of the Casio Triangle then to get a move on the with the DRS then? Jinnah then once again using the battery to try and get himself propelled away then from the McLaren to go down towards turn 1 once again. Here we go, and he's too far back again then for Gordo to stay with that Mercedes, or get himself past that Mercedes then into turn 1. Vessia in the pit lane, done 31 laps on the medium compact tyres, has released Kamara Racer now into P4. New Zealand Cam then 7 seconds behind Kamara Racer. Now that gap is coming down very quickly indeed to the top 4 then for New Zealand Cam, who's going to be promoted up into P5, when Vessia has come in the pit lane. So yes, he has done that, and now he's cruising down the pit straight. Then Justify then into P7 so far. Then he's going to be all over the back of Vessia, is he? When he comes out the pit lane, he's going to be ahead of Vessia, I think. Then as we go on to the into turn 1, I should say. Then Vessia now out to the pit lane into P7, then ahead of R2 Beat as it stands as well. Sickers Muck and Mushroom switching places, then Sickers Muck now up into P11 ahead of the Ferrari car as it stands on the soft compound tyres. Will they last to the end of the Grand Prix is the question. They lasted very well on the Mercedes in the first stint for Jinnah, but that is going to be a different question then, I think, for different cars, and of course at the end of the race then, when they've of course got lighter fuel loads as well. That will be interesting to see. The full safety car, Bruin says Ted Tango, then that's very promising indeed, because I want to go to bed. But there we are then, as into the 130R we go then for Gordo. Then these two are the closest battle on track, and this is the battle then for the race lead and potentially the race win as well. Into the Casio Triangle we go. This time Gordo is much closer, I think, there, but can he keep the exit together? Not quite. Again, it's been a difficult exit then for the McLaren driver. He's still closer though this time. DRS available, then yellow flags are being waved about as well in the background, I think, for an Alpine as we go around the outside at turn 1, then over the curves then for Gordo, then at turn 2 and he has, no, where's Jenner gone? Jenner's off the circuit, then Jenner's off the circuit. He's lost out then to the McLaren, and he's lost the car as well through turn 2 and 3. Issues for the Mercedes driver. He seems to be trying to get the car under control. Kamara Racer in the pit lane now. New Zealand Cam sets the fast lap of the race. Then Jenner then has had a massive issue then. And I'm not quite sure what happened then to the Mercedes car, but he has lost out to Gordo by almost 4 seconds then as well. Then that was a crazy turn 1 and 2. I don't think Gordo had anything to do with it, but unfortunately for Jenner then, he lost the car going through turn 2, went wide on the grass, cost himself a place then to Gordo, who's taken the race lead. Then the championship leader then has taken the race lead now, but unfortunately for Jenner then, he's lost out then to Gordo as well, 4 seconds or so behind in P2, then dropping down the order then, but he's still got quite a comfortable gap then to P3, sorry, Kiki, his teammate as well then. But New Zealand Cam then is going to be enticed then for that podium place, I think now. 3-lap old soft compound tyres, then Kamara Racer onto the soft compound tyres as well. Then he's down to P10. He's still in the points pair positions now, but he's going to be trying to push on then, get himself back up into the range then of Coupe, Equaz, R2B and Justify as we get ourselves through the final third of this race now. We're flying through. So yeah, hopefully we don't have a full safety car brewing. But there we go. Then we'll have a look at the penalty situations as well. Then at the moment it's 3 for Vessia, 5 for R2B for speeding in the pit lane as well. Then Kamara's got 3 seconds. Vessia, not Vessia, sorry, Sick as Muck got 8 seconds. 3 for Kaidel, 3 for Kaz, and 3 for Farf as well. Then, but those drivers at the back of the field soldering on at this stage, which is fair play to them as well. Then here comes Coupe then all over the back now of Equaz. Then Kamara Racer has joined this fight as well for the DRS as well, into the 1 second window now for the Alpine, and trying to push himself through on those soft compound tyres. Right then, out in front then, Vessia is, R2B has caught up to Justify in the pit lane, to Justify calling it a day then on those medium compound tyres as well. Vessia sets the fastest lap of the race on the soft compound tyres, and away he goes then. R2B up in P6 now, soldering on those hard compound tyres, looking strong at this stage. That VSC might not be too helpful for him though, because of course that's brought the Alfa Romeo, the Williams and potentially the Alpine as well, Kamara Racing a bit closer to them as well, as of course they have used the VSC to their advantage and to pit for a new set of tyres then, without losing as much time as green flag running. But so far so good then, as we get ourselves through onto lap 38 then. 15 laps remain at the end of this one. Kaidel getting himself past Styles then into turn 2. And ahead now into P13 then for the Alpine driver. Good stuff indeed. And that's good stuff as well. Good, fantastic racing. Wonderful stuff indeed. Coupe then, and Coupe, Kamara and Equaz then all in this battle then for P7. As it stands then, is the closest battling on track as it stands. 15 laps remain at the end of this one as well. Then, like I said, on to lap 39 we will commence very soon. Jenner then is got a 5-second gap then to his teammate of Kiki as it stands. And as it stands at the moment then, it's going to be a 2-3 for Mercedes then, after they were looking potentially for a 1-2 then, after starting both of them on the front row of the grid then at the beginning of this race 39 laps ago then. So a long time ago now, almost a sleep ago. I need to fall asleep very soon. But there we go then. Here we are into 130R, and Kamara Racer now pushing the Williams of Coupe then through the corners, it looks like, almost into the Casio triangle we go. And this is where Kamara needs to get himself a good exit then to try and maximise the pace then into the main straight. Not quite then for the Alpine. I don't think it's going to be close enough then to make a move into turn 1 then. Can Coupe make a move though into turn 1 then on the Alfa Romeo then? He's again too far back then. He has to slot in behind. Kamara almost in the back of the Williams then as well. But thankfully slowed the car down in time. Yeah, like I said, it's action-packed out here, and I'm already knackered as it is before we started lap 1. So I'm going to get myself a nice sleep tonight. For sure, as oh dear, where's Kamara Racer going? I thought we were going on the grass then, but no, he's got himself sorted as well then. So 6/10 covers this battle here between these three. They are bringing Sick as Muck now into the fight as well then, with this battling as well. So Sick as Muck could be in the range very soon of these three ahead of him. Serious Mushroom then is on older tyres then. I'm not quite sure if that's a glitch or not as well. He did say there was a glitch before, but I'm not quite sure this time. But he's on 10 lap old medium compound tyres, currently outside the top 10, but can he get himself within the top 10 very soon? We will wait and see. Kiki is in the pit lane, so Kiki has called it a day then on the medium compound tyres. 20 laps then on the medium compound then for Kiki. Soft compound, I think, will be going on to the Mercedes then, into the box then, and away he goes then on the soft compound tyre. Where will he come out is the question, and he is trundling down the pit lane now. But I think Vessia then is going to be having, he's got much more speed than has Vessia. And of course, on the main straight, here comes Kiki out of the pit lane now, but Vessia has got the position then up into P4. Kiki back out in P5 then. There is R2B in the background then. He's flying through on the hard compound tyres, I should say. Then Kamara Racer and Coop then have got themselves sorted out then. Kamara up into P8 now ahead of the Williams car. Right, Seeker's Luck has caught up to the battle as well now. That is going to be bad news for Coop then, who's been passed now by Kamara Racer on the fresh soft compound tyres. Kamara, so he's going to be able to check out in the distance if he can get himself through quickly enough then on the Alfa Romeo of Equaz as well into the into Dunlop, calling out as we go up the hill. And flying through then for the Alpine then on the soft compound tyres, looking strong so far. Alpine of Kaidel has got himself back past Styles as well then into P13. Liam Yeh getting himself past Vintage now for P15 then. Liam Yeh trying to get himself back in the range of this race then potentially. Well, I don't want to curse it, but potentially if there is a safety car, Liam Yeh could get himself back in the points, but that would be cursing it. So there we go. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Right then, here comes Kiki then, a fresh soft compound tyres, pit lane for Jinner. Then Jinner is in the box as well then, so Jinner calling it a day then on the medium compound tyres. Only 17 laps then for Jinner this time on the medium compound tyres. He's done more laps on the softs than he did on the mediums, which is interesting stuff indeed. New Zealand Cam, I think, is going to retain that or regain that P2 position then ahead now of Jinner then, as Jinner is trundling down the pit lane here, but I think he'll come back out in P3, will he? Yes, he will. Will he? Yes, he will. Will he, though? It's going to be close indeed between Jinner and Vessia as we go into turn one. Then Vessia flying through then. 5-lap holder, soft compound tyres, but he's now all over the back then for Jinner and potentially in a fight for a podium place here for Vessia. Good stuff indeed. And Kamara has got himself past Equaz now up into P7 and away he goes then. ERS light flashing for the Alpine, but now can he use those soft compound tyres to his advantage then and push on for that points pen position then, get some more points under his belt then for Kamara. I think if he can, and I'm going to curse him now unfortunately, which is going to be a big shame, but if he finishes in the points, he gets his first points of the season then on round 11 of 15. So if he can finish in the points, that would be fantastic indeed. But I'm going to have to switch on to somebody else. I'm very sorry, Kamara. Coop and Equaz then switching places. Then Equaz starting to struggle with it, or had a problem then through Dunlop. Lost out then to the Williams driver as well. Cooper's Kaz has got a 5 second of speeding in the pit lane. Then he's back in the pit lane for the AlphaTauri and back underway. Then here comes a Mercedes of Kiki then on the inside then of Vessia as we go into Spoon, and he's got the position then and up into P4. Vessia then is obviously on slightly older tyres then, but he's on soft compound tyres nonetheless then. Kiki now all over the back of his teammate as well. Then Jinner, of course, has just pitted then for the soft compound. Kiki only a lap before then has done a fantastic undercut. Yellow flags then for an AlphaTauri. They're not quite sure what's going on there, but hopefully they can get themselves sorted and back underway. It wasn't New Zealand Cam, so I think it was I've gone wrong way. I think it was Kaz then coming out of the pit lane. And here comes Kiki then on the back of his teammate. This is going to get interesting between the Mercedes drivers. They are fighting for the final podium place here, and this could get very interesting stuff indeed. And Kiki then is going to be all over the back of his teammate as we go into lap 42. And yes, it is going to be a fight between the two Mercedes drivers. There's no team orders then. Sick as much got himself past Equaz now as well on the soft compound tyres up into P9 as it stands. Penalties there permitting, of course. But there's going to be penalties to be added on to quite a few drivers' race times at the end of this one as well. As into the Dunlop corner we go then for Kiki and Jinner. Then Jinner is now being put under pressure from his teammate. He wanted to get himself past and ahead of the two ahead of him. But so far it is... Oh my goodness me, where is Kiki gone? No, it's Jinner. Jinner's off the circuit. It's a safety car. It's a safety car as well here. Where... I'm not quite sure what's happening then, because Jinner is completely just driven off the circuit there. And he's got himself back underway, but front wing completely missing now from the Mercedes driver. He just pit for the soft compound tyres as Sick as Muck has retired under the safety car as well. And then not quite sure what's happened to Sick as Muck as well under the safety car. The pit comes Gordo, and I think he's going to have a free pit stop. Then Sick as Muck has just disappeared then, so that is him out of the Grand Prix. New Zealand Cam picks up a 3-second penalty then coming through the Casio triangle. Then he is going to come back in the pit lane there as well. Here comes Kiki. Gordo coming down the pit lane now. I think he's going to regain the lead. Kaz is soldiered on then. Kaz is still on the lead lap now, which is good stuff indeed for Kaz, as we were calling it as a safety car then to help Liam Yeh. It has helped Liam Yeh because he can now get himself back in the points paying positions potentially then at the end of this race. 10 laps will remain at the end of this one. Then that McLaren needs to get himself into the back behind the safety car. There we go. Onto the pit straight we go then. New Zealand can coming out in P2. Gino gets a 5-second penalty spinning in the pit lane as well. That's going to compound his woes then for the Mercedes driver. And he's been held slightly then by the team as we get himself into the box then. RTB serving a 5-second penalty. Of course, that 5-second penalty was spinning in the pit lane previously. Kiki back out in P3. Vessia coming out in P4. Camaro coming out in P5. Is the question. Yes, he is. Coop then P6, R2 in P7, then after serving that penalty as well, then he's only lost one place then as R2 beat Equaz in P8, then Gina down in P9, of course, after that, all those incidents then as well, then unfortunately that whatever caused that crash then for whatever caused that crash then for the Mercedes driver as well, and then that 5-second penalty to be compounded to his race time at the end of the Grand Prix, or unless he makes another pit stop, of course. Sirius Muppin then up into the top 10 now with Sika Smuck retiring then mysteriously under a safety car. But there we go. Then Justify then is on hard compound tyres. Not quite sure what Justify is up to there, but interesting call then from the Ferrari driver. Down in P11, then Kydell, then soft compound tyres P12, then Hungry Styles P13 on soft compound tyres as well. So same for Liam, yeah, P14. Farf is carrying on hard compound tyres. Vintage on the soft compound tyres P16, then, and Kaz is carrying on because he did pit 2 laps or so ago on 2 soft compound tyres as well. Gordo said he's got no game sound, so that's going to be problematic indeed. I think the best thing you can do then is press the pause menu and then unpause it, and usually that sorts it out. But that is my technical knowledge then of the Formula 1 games. I think that's been an issue for however many years Formula 1 games have been with Codemasters. So yeah, all you need to do is press pause. Well, all I need to do is press pause and then unpause it, and it fixes it. But I'm not quite sure if that works for everybody else, but it seems to work every time I do it. So that's my my turning it off and on again situation or strategy, as per my wonderful IT friend Sean Meek. But there we go then. Kaz then is going to catch up to the safety car queue. Now it can be quite a long safety car, I think, because we've got quite a lot of the field bunched out, or not bunched out, sorry, spread out, I suppose you could say, across the lap then, as we get ourselves around and finishing off the final few laps here in Suzuka. At the moment we've got 10 laps to go then, but of course there's still a safety car out at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see when it comes back in. I think it will be an end of lap 46 then, because it will wait 3 laps then if nobody's caught up. If not everyone's caught up, I should say. It'll wait 3 laps then and just get on with it at the end of the 3 laps, because it will stop waiting. So that is that. But at the moment I think we're going to be having, what is that, 47, 48, 49, 50, 7 laps of racing potentially at the end of this one. Maybe 8 laps depending on when the safety car comes in, if it's lap 45 or 46. Justify said he's got this, so he's on the hard compound tyres and he's going to win the race. Promising stuff indeed. Good luck to Justify then in P11. Then Gordo has said that he's raging about the safety car, by the way, not the sound. Okay. Right. Well, at the moment you're in a good spot. Let's have a look at the penalty situation then. New Zealand Cam has got 3 seconds in P2. Vessia in P4, sorry, has got 3 seconds. Same for Kamara in P5. Then we've got 5 seconds. Virginia then, it was called for speeding in the pit lane then on the final safety car as well. Sorry, Kydell's got 3 seconds in P12, 3 seconds for Farf in P16, and 3 for Kaz in P17. The tyre compounds are not really useful anymore because we've got everything on the soft compound tyre apart from Justify in P11 on the hard compound as well. But soon we will be underway, hopefully. Waiting for the Haas of Farf and the Alpha Tauri of Kaz then to catch up as Kaz going through the hairpin of Sector 2 now. But the safety car will come in regardless, I think, at the end of the next lap. It will give up waiting for Kaz and for Farf if they haven't caught up again. But there we go. I hope it is in soon because I'm going to go to bed straight after. I've got to do the graphics first, but there we go. Then I'll go to bed. But anyway, first of all, we're going to have a nice clean finish to the end of the Grand Prix. And so far it has been chaotic to say the least, let's say. Not chaotic in sense of the driving, because to be fair, unfortunate incident in Virginia was no harm done. There was harm done. There's a safety car, but there was no malice then from anybody or from Virginia himself. And it was just it seemed like a wheel disconnect or something like that, because he went straight on then at Degner too. which isn't usually a place you'd go straight on at if you were trying to drive the car normally. So there must have been some sort of issue then for Gino then that cost him in the Mercedes then, and unfortunately then cost him his front wing, and that cost him a penalty infringement, then speeding into the pit lane as well then at the end of the end of lap 43 I think it was. So that is why he's got a 5 second penalty as well then. Right, Kaz is almost there. He's almost caught up, so I think we'll be back racing then at the end of this lap then, which is good stuff indeed. We will have, I think that's going to be 8 laps of racing then. 8 laps of racing then at the end of lap 45. 46 will commence then, and we'll get to the end of lap 53 at some point. Some point in time would be good, but we will get there eventually nonetheless. So Gordon then will lead us away then on the restart then, as we've got New Zealand Cam P2, Kiki in P3, Vessia P4, then Kamara in P5, Coop P6, Archie Beat in P7, Equaz in P8, then Jinner in P9, and Serious Mushroom in P10 rounds off the top 10 as it stands. Of course, penalties permitting, there was quite a few penalties to be added on to people's race times at the end of the Grand Prix here, but we will wait and see when the safety car does come in. And it is coming in now as well then, so Gordo will get ourselves restarted then as we wait for the safety car to get himself back into the pit lane, and through 130R we go, but this is probably the slowest they're ever going to go through 130R in this race as we cruise round then on the safety car restart, then waiting for the safety car to get through the Casio triangle and back into the pits. As away goes Gordo, then he's gone early, then has the McLaren driver then, I think so, yes he has done, he's done a great job then, trying to catch out the drivers behind, then he has caught out Vessia, then he's not caught out Kiki and New Zealand Cam though, not so much this time, but Vessia then has really been caught napping then compared to the top 3, and that is bad news indeed for Vessia. Then he wants to try and hold on to that place and then get himself back in DRS range then of the top 3 as well, then into turns 1 and 2, then Kiki all over the back of the AlphaTauri of New Zealand Cam then, who's struggling to keep up with Gordo as it stands. Gordo is pushing on very quickly indeed on this restart. Still, of course, 8 laps to go at the end of this. Well, at the end of lap 45. So there's still plenty of racing to unfold as well here. Kamara race is being chased by Coop, then up the hill towards Dunlop as well. Then the Alpine under pressure here and trying to keep up with the top 4 now. But Vessia then has lost out to top 3. Kamara has lost out to Vessia as well. Then as we go into Dagna 2, into or under the bridge we go of turn 7, I think turn 8. Sorry, but there we are then. I'm too tired to try and comprehend all the corners around here. As Kamara Racer trying to get himself back underway, then those soft compound tyres maybe taking a couple of seconds, couple of quarters then to warm up then to his favour then. Now trying to put the pressure down there, but here comes Coop then putting the pressure on, and he is flying his Coop then in the Williams car. And it seems to be, he's glitching as well. So, yeah. Again, I think that's just me potentially. Then here comes Coop then all over the back of the Alpine up the hill then towards 130R. Then Kiki's made a move then for P2, then ahead of the AlphaTauri of New Zealand Cam, then into the Casio triangle we go then, and New Zealand Cam has dropped down the field then into P3 then, as Kamara has been passed by Coop as well then into 130R. We completely missed it because we were looking at the battle for the podium places, as Kiki now ahead then of the AlphaTauri as we go down towards turn 1. Gordo set the fastest lap of the race then on lap 46. Then here we are, Kamara Racer there down to P6 then for the time being. Now on the back of Coop then, RGB is holding on then to some big points as well for the Haas team. Kaido's got himself past Justify. Those hard compound tyres are not working then for the Ferrari car, unfortunately. But Kaido now up into P11, and can he chase down the top 10 then for some points here in the Alpine? Could it be a double Alpine point scoring performance then, which we haven't seen, I don't think, this season, which is going to be a masterstroke indeed if that can happen as well. Liam, trying to get himself back in the fight as well then for the points as well. There's penalties ahead for those ahead of Liam, so potentially it could happen as well then. 1.5 seconds the gap between Gordo and Kiki. Gordo is checking out in the distance here as well. Look at him, he's flying off into the sky, into the horizon, I should say. Then Jinner and Equaz then battling away. Then Jinner's lost out to the Alfa Romeo, on the exit of the hairpin then, and the Mercedes they're dropping back down to P9. Then Sirius Russian waiting in the wings then for anything going on down here as well, and looking to get himself into the fight for some more points then for the Ferrari driver. Currently in P4 in the standings, then could potentially promote himself very high up with the penalty situation then for the drivers ahead of him as well. Then we'll come back to that towards the end of the Grand Prix. New Zealand Cam then dropping off the back then of Kiki. Kiki's really putting the pressure down, putting the pace down, I should say, into the Casio triangle. He's flying through then as we go on to lap 48 then. 6 laps remaining then as we cross into lap 48. The DRS now enabled, of course, to be within 1 second of the car ahead. Coop then I think Coop's in range for a penalty for a podium here. Coop then is in range for a P3 with the penalties then for Vessia and for New Zealand Cam ahead of him. Jenner has got himself past. Oh dear, Jenner has lost the car again then. It looks like he almost had to try and fight to keep under control then. He's really having issues then, is Jenner. But Equaz back through then for P8. Justifies back past Kydell. Kydell's off the circuit. Then where is Kydell going? He's got himself back on the grey stuff, but he's been on the green stuff a bit too much. Those tyres might not be in his favour right now because they're going to be a bit grassy. But there we go then. There we go. Coot then is within DRS range for sure then of Vessia. Then he's pushing. Then that Williams car then is lagging all over the place I think there. But he's got himself into P5 on merit at the moment. Kamara Race then in P6 for the time being as well. Then R2P waiting in the vicinity as well as we go on to the spoon curve next. Then for this for the next part of this lap into the final couple of corners then for the lap as well. Flying through very quickly indeed now is Vessia then, but he's under pressure now. Jenner and Equaz once again. Where are they this time? They're through the spoon curve and now Jenner is ahead this time, and I think he's got the position this time as well, then ahead of the Alfa Romeo, then trying to chase down R2B in the Haas ahead for P7 now, but they're dropping off the back. Of course DRS is going to be available then the end of this lap as well then onto the main straight, so of course this is when it's going to be very dangerous indeed. If you're trying to overtake into 130R, you could cost yourself the DRS then onto the main straight and get re-overtaken straight away. Then here comes Coop then on the back of Vessia flying through onto the main straight for lap 49, then DRS light flashing away then on the McLaren. Here comes the Williams car then with some DRS. Then can he go down the inside? Is he going to lunge down the inside? Not quite. He thinks better of it. Equaz then has got himself back past him, and just like I said then, that getting himself past at 130R then is Hungry Styles and Justify. Oh my goodness me, Liam Yeh's got himself through as well down the inside. The Ferrari struggling on the hard compound tyres here. But like I was saying, then if you get past at 130R, then you compromise yourself potentially to get repassed at the main straight then with some DRS then for the car who had just been overtaken. So that I think is what happened then with Equaz and Jenner then into P8 and P9. And breathe. I don't think I'm going to have much chance to breathe in the last few laps here, but here we are then. Coop then into the range of we've got driver of the day poll. Get your votes in for driver of the day. Then Coop then into the range then of Vessia now in all over the back end of the McLaren, then pushing that McLaren through into Spoon Corner. Then the ERS light flashing away on the McLaren is going to be enticing that Williams car of Coop to make that overtake as well. Justifies got himself back past Liam. Yeah, has he? Yes, he has. Up into P12, back up into P12 as well, I should say. As where are we? We're looking at Coop. Coop then all over the back then of Vessia as we go up the hill then towards the 130R corner. Then the ERS light flashing away, like I was saying, enticing that Williams car of Coop to try and make that overtake very soon indeed. As we go through into the Casio Triangle next as well then on to lap 50 of 53. 4 laps remain then as it stands. Oh my goodness me, Kamara Racer going very deep there, and that's opened the door for R2B. Has it? Yes, it has potentially, but we'll come back to that battle. Here comes Coop though along the main straight, very close indeed now to the McLaren, and he's past the McLaren up into P4 with some DRS, then up into P4 and away he goes then. Kamara Racer and R2B then not being able to make any moves then for R2B then as Kamara has had an issue through the Casio Triangle. Then he kept the place then, did the Alpine. Down the back of the field, Justify has been passed by Liam. Yeah, now back up into P12 then for Liam. Jenner has been passed by Equaz, then Equaz back up into P8 as well. As it stands, then your candidates for driver of the day, Coop, Gordo, Kiki and Serious Mushroom, then get your votes in the comment section before the checkered flag, as so far it has been pretty epic stuff indeed. There's the penalty situation as well for the drivers then who are not involved in the driver of the day, because of course those penalties would demote them down the order, and the likes of Coop, Gordo, Kiki and Serious Mushroom have kept it very clean so far as well. Then R2B as a shoe-in, I think, was a candidate for that as well, but he's not been involved in the driver of the day poll, which is very sad. But there we are. So that's that. R2B then all over the back of Kamara Racer as well. We go through towards Spoon Curves. Kamara Racer is losing out to the DRS then of the McLaren ahead of Vessia, which is going to be very bad news indeed, especially with that penalty to be added onto his race time, which could get very dangerous then for the Alpine driver then. If he loses out to that 1 second window, then he needs to get himself back in that DRS then as quickly as possible. Then out in front then 2 seconds almost the gap then between Gordo and Kiki. The gap then from Gordo on that restart was absolutely fantastic, and he's kept that gap very well indeed. Kiki then 2 seconds back, then he's in comfortable range then. He has got a 3 second gap back to New Zealand Cam as well in P3. Coop then is 1 second behind the podium places as it stands then. Vessia has been brought along with him, so is Kamara Racer, so is R2B then. Equaz then almost into the fight as well. Then here comes Jenner though on the back, then there's a Ferrari then of Serious Mushroom then on the back of Jenner, I should say, as we go into turn 1, but not making any moves then for Serious Mushroom then for the time being. Lap 51 of 53 has commenced then. 2.5 laps or 2 3/4 laps to go here as we get ourselves into the twilight stages of this Japanese Grand Prix. Get your votes in there for driver of the day. I'm going to vote for Coop. But that's just me. So there we go then. We'll have a look at the position changes as well then. Cooper's gained 9 places then as well. Potentially can gain 10 places as well and get himself onto the podium with that penalty for New Zealand Cam as well then. We will have, I think we'll have a bit of a thing to look at then after between Jinnah then and New Zealand Cam as well after the race then. Same for Kamara and Sick as Muck. I think they might be under review at the end of this Grand Prix, but Sick as Muck is out of the Grand Prix. So unfortunately then he has DNF'd under the safety car then on lap 43 into the spoon curve. We go then. Equaz trying to catch up to the back of the R2B, back of the Haas for P7 now, as he is still in range then of the penalties for Kamara Racer and for Vessia potentially to get himself promoted up the order then from P8 as it stands then. So it doesn't have to be within DRS range, but it will be very helpful indeed for him as well. Here comes Coop then into the Casio Triangle now all over the back then of the AlphaTauri of New Zealand Cam. The penalty is starting to rack up, the time is starting to rack up. Lap 52 has commenced, the penultimate lap then of the Japanese Grand Prix before we head into the break week, the final race of the ALR, of ALR I should say then, before we head into the Easter break then of all the divisions as well then. Into turn 2, and Coop has taken P3 into the podium places. Equaz and Jinnah switching places as well as we go into turn 2 now. As Jinnah, oh my goodness, I thought there was contact between the two of them. There wasn't though, but Equaz just reacting to the Mercedes that was side by side with him. Jinnah up into P8 now as well, trying to chase down the Haas as well then. So that is that. Coop now up 10 places as Favre picks up a penalty as well. And unfortunately for Favre, he's not had a good race up there, but he's soldiered on nonetheless, which is fantastic to see. As we've got get your votes in then for driver of the day. We've got 4 votes then. Coop, Gordo, Kiki and Sirius Mushroom are your candidates for driver of the day, so you can vote for them in the comment section. But of course, get your votes in before the checkered flag does fall. We've got 1.5 laps to go here in this Grand Prix. 2 seconds the gap for the race leader of Gordo. The championship leader of Gordo as well is extending his championship lead as it stands. Equaz has picked up a penalty. I didn't see that, but that is going to be very costly indeed. And for the penalty situation and for the current P2 in the championship as well, then 3 seconds for Equaz is going to be he's going to be able to get himself past Jinnah though, but he's not going to be able to get on the likes of Vessia, Kamara and New Zealand Cam then, as we'll have to wait and see how it unfolds in the we'll have a look at the penalty situations overall, because that is going to be the most impactful thing at the end of this race as well. Here we go then into the Casio Triangle this time, and R2B then is in line. Where is he in line for? He might actually be in line for a P4 here, which would be a fantastic result. Then, of course, he got a podium. He got P2 in Saudi Arabia then only a few weeks ago then. But this could be another fantastic result for the Haas driver then, who's really had difficult time in the Haas this season. Here comes Equaz then over the back around the outside of Jinnah into turn 1, back up into P8 then for the Alfa Romeo driver then, and away he goes then. Lap 53 has commenced here in Suzuka, and this is it. This is the final lap then for all the 17 drivers that remain then. Unfortunately, Sick as Muck and Jay Hings are out of the race then, as Jinnah has had an issue. Jinnah is off the circuit again then. He's coming back on the field. Where is he in relation to Favre then? Favre is ahead. Sorry, Favre is behind. But Jinnah then having a few issues out there and really struggling on then in this race then. But hopefully he can get to the checkered flag then to finish it off then. But he has really had a few problems out there, unfortunately, in the Mercedes. And not quite sure what is going on for the Mercedes driver. If it's just technical issues, or if there's some sort of other gremlins going on there in the Mercedes. But nonetheless, then we'll come back to that then at the end of the race then. But here we are on to the back straight then for Gordo. The championship leader then is looking to extend his championship lead once again, and he is flying through 130R for the final time. Lap 53 of 53 here into the Casio Triangle now for Gordo in the McLaren then. He's going to come round the final corner then to take the victory here in Japan then, as he crosses the line to win here in Suzuka and take his championship then on to the next fight then as well. Great stuff indeed from Gordo then. A great victory here by 2 seconds then. Kiki in P2. A good fight back indeed as well then, after a difficult first stint on the hard compound tyres and the spin towards that end as well. Coop then P3, a fantastic podium then for Coop, then gets himself onto the podium I think for the first time this season as well. Great stuff for the Williams driver then. New Zealand Cam P3 then into New Zealand Cam P4 in the end. R2B P5 then. Great stuff indeed for R2B then. I thought he was on for P5 but he didn't P4, but he didn't get P4 in the end. But fantastic stuff indeed. We'll quickly get the webcam sorted. We will look at the classification then for the Japanese Grand Prix, and like I said, this is rounded off round 11 then for ALR this season. Then we're having a quick break week then for Easter before we're back in action then in 2 weeks time for 100% then, but in 1.5 weeks time then for gold on Sunday in a week and a half But there is your podium sitters then. There is Gordo on the top step then once again in the McLaren. Then we've got Kiki in the Mercedes P2, and we have Coop then in the Williams P3. So great stuff indeed. And it looks like Gordo got the driver of the day poll vote as well. Indeed as well. Good stuff indeed. Right then, Sirius Michael said, "Why am I last?" Well, I don't know what happened. And did you leave the session early? We will wait and see. But there is your classification then for the Japanese Grand Prix. Gordo in P1 and he takes the fastest lap as well. Then Kiki P2, Coop in P3, New Zealand Cam P4, R2 beat P5. Great race from him. Kamara Racer gets his first points of the season in P6. Fantastic from him as well. Hungry Styles P7 in the end. Great stuff from Hungry Styles then. Equaz P8. Liam P9 does get points then on his final race. Vessier in P10. Justify in P11. Then Vintage P12. Kaidel P13. Jinner in P14. Kaz P15. Farf in P16. Serious Mushroom in P17. Sick as Muck P18. And Jay Hings P19. Unfortunately, those two at the bottom did DNF, but and Moomin Ninja didn't start as well because he was in the session before we started as well. Then, but that was great stuff indeed. What a race indeed as well. And we'll hopefully get the interviews underway very shortly in the next few minutes or so as well. But great racing indeed then from all drivers and fantastic stuff from everybody who got to the checkered flag. And there we are. But fantastic indeed. And that is the Japanese Grand Prix wrapped up here in the 100% League. Of course, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be at Qatar. We have a break week then for next week then, but we will be back in Qatar then for round 12. And that will be the, well, there'll be 4 rounds of the season remaining after the break week, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So there we go then. I'm not sure if anybody's joining me, to be fair. I think Kiki's joined me, but we'll have to wait and see if the other podium drivers are going to sit with us or not. But we'll go on to the podium interviews very quickly indeed then, as yeah, bear with us 1 second whilst we get the stream sorted as well. Gordo has joined the party. We'll start off with the race winner then. Gordo, a fantastic race win once again then from yourself then. The championship looks like it's well, firstly we'll go on to the race itself because we'll come back to the championship. But you were in control of that race then at the restart. But did you think the race win was on the cards then in the opening stages?
Probably not at the very start, but after the pit stops and I got past Cam, New Zealand, whatever his name is, sorry, kind of closed up to Vessier, what's his terrible, Jenna, and I probably wouldn't have won that race without Vessier, to be fair. Jenna was about 3 seconds ahead of me, and Vessier backed him up into me excellently, got me into his DRS. Then obviously he made the mistake, but never really thought it was on until about then.
And you had a bit of teamwork then, it sounds like, from Vessier as well. Great stuff from McLaren then, working together then on track then. And like you said, at the end of that race then you had it under control then. That safety car restart, did you expect it to go so well? But or what was your thoughts then on the restart when you saw the gap then expanded massively?
Well, I didn't want the safety car at first, I'll definitely say that. It was about 15 seconds clear, but then last week the going early in Australia worked really well. The restart got gapped over a second, so I thought might work again and done it, and I was slightly surprised. I thought that maybe people would have expected it at a track like this, but it was a pleasant surprise to say.
Absolutely fantastic as well. And we'll go on to the championship now as well, because you are extending your lead once again in the championship this time as well. 4 races remain. Do you think you're on for the title?
Not over till it's over, is it?
Very wise indeed, but fantastic once again then from Gordo. Another race win under his belt, this time in the McLaren here in 100% in Japan as well. And well done to Gordo as well. Like I said, extending the championship lead, so it's going to be interesting to see how the other drivers then will fare in the last 4 rounds. Can they hold a candle to the McLaren driver? We'll wait and see. But we have got Kiki then, who was holding the candle quite well in stages of that race as well, to be fair. Kiki, you started on the hard compound tyres, and we thought that they were going to phase in brilliantly in the end of the first stint, but they didn't seem to be working in your favour then. Did you have anything to say about the hard compound tyres, or were they the wrong choice, or just didn't work out in this race?
I wouldn't say they were the best tyre to go on, to be honest, but I was going to do a one-stop hards to mediums, and obviously once you're in a DRS with someone, it's quite hard to get out of it, and obviously that's what Gordo was doing when I was leading him. used him at DRS and he overtook me, and it was just like that. Then I lost it in sector 1, so that was annoying.
And you switched quite early on then to the medium compounds, and are probably going to go for medium. Was that correct?
Probably medium soft, but it was meant to be medium. Because I seen like Gina did about 20 odd laps on the soft, so I was just going to do softs and see what it turned out to be. But yeah, when I spun off in sector 1, I had to change my front wing.
Oh right, okay. I didn't notice that, but I did notice that the hard compound tyres lasted less than the soft compound tyres for your teammate. So that was the only good thing I could see you in commentary. To be fair, it was all over the place today. But well done indeed to Pete for P2. And again, some big points for yourself and the Mercedes team. Then you are on the charge up the standings very quickly. Of course, you did join in a few races later than the start of the season. So it's looking promising then for yourself and the Mercedes team as well.
Hopefully I can get maybe a couple more wins, but when you got Gordo on fire like this, it's crazy. I thought I was going to catch him, and he had like 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds gap all the way through, and obviously I think I got held up by Cam a bit, and for first 2 laps after the safety car, and then he was already gone by then.
Well, either way, you still got yourself onto the podium places, and you did have to fight then on the soft compound tyres in that final stint. Then, what's your thoughts for the final 4 races of the season? Then, are you going to be on the charge then for more podiums?
Yeah, got to be, haven't you? 4 left. 25 points a race, get 100 points, and still won't be able to beat Gordo.
Oh, well, we'll have to wait and see then. It depends on what Gordo's up to as well then, to be fair. But no, credit to you guys, both of you guys on the top 2 steps of the podium as well tonight, and well-deserved as well. I don't know if Coop did join us, did he? Oh, no, he didn't, unfortunately. So well done to Coop then. P3 in the end, then his first podium of the season as well. So fantastic stuff from Coop. But that'll be it then for the 100% League. Then we'll have our break week now. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time in Qatar, and of course we'll be in Japan then for gold in a week and a half's time. Not this weekend, the weekend after. Silver and bronze will follow in Japan as well, in that order as well. So stay tuned to ALR. There's plenty more action coming up after Easter. So we'll see you very soon, and enjoy your Easter break, everyone.
Whoa, that was fun. Okay, now.